Lynette, you ever have one of those weekends where it's like this weekend's been the longest month of my life? That's how I feel today. Uh, 6 o'clock here in the region. Chuck Pullen sitting in with you on a beautiful Monday morning. This is my kind of weather. We'll let Lynette tell you about that in a little bit. Let's take your first look at traffic. Traffic looking beautiful for a Monday morning. Nothing going on 80, 94, 65, Skyway, Toll Road, and the et ceteras. Everything looking good. Same with on the Illinois side. Bishop Ford, Dan Ryan, looking good. A little slowdown on the way into the circle. 80 looking good. 294 looking good. Everything looking good. You should have no problems getting to work, getting where you want to go today. Lynette, how is the weather?
Good morning, everyone. Today we're at 54 degrees with highs of 74 and lows of 58. It's going to be pleasant with partial sunshine and should be the nicest day of the week. Then tomorrow on Tuesday, we'll be having highs of 68 and lows of 54. It will be cloudy and breezy with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm. Then Wednesday, we'll be having highs of 68 and lows of 61 with some clouds, showers, and a heavier thunderstorm in the afternoon, and should be breezy.
I know Jim hates it when we talk about how great our WGIB facilities are, but I am going to have to ask you to turn that dehumidifier thing off behind you because
No, absolutely not.
Okay, then you can turn your mic off then. Perfect. Yeah, because other than I used to say it was just the chirping. It's chirping in dehumidifiers. So I think you guys did that on purpose. But so it is 6 o'clock here on a beautiful Monday. It's June the 15th. My co-host had a little bit of a rough weekend. We'll get into that later. Mother Nature gave the town of Dyer a 1-2 punch. Same with a lot of other communities that were trying to do festivals this weekend. So they unfortunately had a couple days of rainouts. So did, I think, Cherville Fest and a few other festivals in the area. But I mean, that's sort of the gamble you take when you want to do outdoor events. You just sort of plan a day and then you watch the weather and then, of course, it's always not in your favor. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. Where did you guys go this weekend? Any festivals? I ran into a few people. Ran into Trucker Mike yesterday, I think it was, or actually a couple times over the weekend. He was going to the different festivals. Where'd you go? What'd you eat? What'd you see? All that good stuff. Want to hear from you about that. What else is on your mind today? I had told Bob and Brett, as I call him, on Friday that I wanted to do a dissertation on data centers because I think there's a lot of just misconceptions about what they are and what they aren't. And again, I understand the concerns if they're going to build one in your neighborhood, but also there's sort of that boogeyman philosophy of, that magical building is like a three-tentacled, five-eyed monster that's going to, suck up all the water and, spew pollutants in your neighborhood and things like that. And then ironically, the people that are against it use AI to make their point. But so we'll get into that, the boogeymen that they aren't, data centers. UFC fight last night. Did you watch? Did you boycott? It's interesting, basically everything revolving around Trump. It's like, do you boycott even to see everybody that's mad about, what did he do? The reflecting pool. Everybody's big mad about the reflecting pool. So what are your thoughts on that? If you're mad at a pool, for being blue or having algae, let's talk about that. Elon Musk is a trillionaire. SpaceX IPO. Elon Musk is a trillionaire, and a lot of folks big mad about that because they slept through economics class. Want to hear your thoughts on that as well. As it turns out, creating wealth actually is a good thing for your country and your economy. Taking it away from people, not so good. But if you don't understand that, same thing. 219-845-1100, and we can talk about that. Anything else on your mind? But okay, so Lynette, so now we'll figure out a way that you can open up your mic, but then like face away from that thing. How about you? What did you do? Do anything good this weekend?
I went to the movies with my parents to see the new Scary Movie, which actually wasn't good at all, but I mean,
which one is it? Movie. Like 6 or something? Which one is it?
Yeah, it's the 6th one. I think.
6th one? I thought is it 7? 6? Okay.
Yeah.
Were you? So, are you a horror fan in general, or what? What do you? Where do you lean on that?
I mean, that's not an actual scary movie. It's a
Well,
parody.
I know, but my point is, you have to know all the other movies to get the references, right?
Oh,
So,
yeah.
like, you have to know Scream, which I think is like on number 13 or whatever.
I've never seen any of the Scream
Well,
movies.
you're right, but Scary Movie's based on Scream, and that's what I'm saying. You have to watch. It's if you're watching the parody, you have to see the original to appreciate it now.
Well, I know some of the scenes from the original because of the parodies, so
Well,
it works the other way for me.
okay. Well, but now you have to see the original. Just go watch the original Scream. The rest of them
boring.
horrible. No, the original was good. Wes Craven was just a genius. He was from Nightmare on Elm Street and a whole bunch of other movies. But I really like Scream was just from a horror movie perspective. It was and it also so it was funny because Scream made fun of the horror movies before it, including Wes Craven's Nightmare on Elm Street, and then now Scary Movie parody Scream, which it's sort of like a weird Inception thing, but like so for you because you're not old enough to have appreciated the golden era of horror movies like the 80s slasher films, so you should go start like at the late set, go watch like Texas Chainsaw, go watch Friday the 13th, just watch the first one of all those movies, and then just work your way down the list, and then you'll appreciate. Or you can work backwards. It's like Star Wars. You can work backwards. Go Scream and then just go backwards back to like, Texas Chainsaw. Just work backwards. You'll appreciate it. But other than that, I want to hear from you guys. Like I said, no Bob today. So I want you guys to drive the show. I want you to tell me what's on your mind, how you feeling about things. What are you mad about? What are you happy about? We've got Bears news. We've got some Bears IDEM news. It turns out everybody else is realizing what those of us that grew up here already know. There are some environmental concerns. Chicago media is claiming that there's and again, I don't know, and I'd love to hear from officials and get an official word from downstate, but Chicago media claiming that there's a 50-year building moratorium on part of the proposed site. How will that affect things? But also, it is government, so they can basically say, well, there's a 50-year build moratorium, but, for the Bears. They're friends of ours, and we wrote them a billion. It's actually our facility, so we can break our own rules, because that's, a lot of these people are, like, worked up about these rules. It's like, well, this is what government does. They make rules for you, and then they break their own rules. So this idea that this IDEM thing is going to somehow slow this down, not going to happen. But let's take you guys. So we got calls. Let's take a call. Let's see who it is. Good morning, caller. You were on the air.
Good morning. I was waiting for somebody else to call in, but I guess
it has to be you. So,
yeah, good morning.
Oh yeah, no.
And are you? Well, are you finally getting all rested up over the weekend? Because in the Bible, the seventh day is their day of rest. There's so much walking and stuff Friday and Saturday. Whew. I'm supposed to do something Sunday, but I remember the Bible says seventh day is the rest day, so that's what I did.
I
was.
I saw you a couple days. I saw you a couple times this weekend. It's, I find myself, I can't wait to get back to work on Monday where I'm like, man, I get to go sit and take a break and catch my breath. So tell people about you. So I saw you at a couple places. You hit all the festivals this weekend, didn't you?
Yeah, well, you said back to work. Yeah, I'm back to work at being retired, sitting in my lazy boy chair with a cup of coffee, but I've got to go. Just for a thing is, today I think should be my final day that I go to that eye specialist that's been doing the surgeries on my eyes. And at 10 o'clock I got to go to that, and then I got to go get my DOT physical. I mean, I'm doing healthy. I'm doing good. Everybody out there remembers July 9th, what happened. I'm perfectly healthy. I can walk around, see people, and do everything. But this weekend, I went to two festivals, and, Dyer and in Griffith. And first thing is, my favorite thing to eat at a festival is an elephant ear.
Oh, yeah. What toppings? You just like it plain?
Cinnamon and sugar is what I get. So I had a good one over at the Dyer Fest.
Okay. I didn't get a chance to. I was looking for it. I didn't get a chance to get one. But, yeah, go ahead.
Well, that was easy to find that one. But when I was in Griffith doing the pictures, I walked past this thing way on the west side past the vendors, there's like this thing shaped as an elephant, and I was walking by, and I got spray on me, a mist. And I asked guy walking me, and said, "What the heck is that? Is it raining?" No, it's something coming out of that elephant's nose or trunk.
So an elephant.
So I kind of stayed away.
Okay, I want to see where this is going. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I staying away from that elephant.
Right.
Trying not to get my cameras wet.
Right.
And so then finally, after I'm about done, because I didn't want to get stuff on my equipment, so I walked down all the vendors trying to find an elephant ear, and the last one was that elephant.
So the elephant you were hiding from was actually the source. So it was like a little. I'm assuming it was a misting tent and not some sort of technical malfunction that was supposed to be doing that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. The lady told me when I was talking. I asked her. I says, "Why am I getting wet from you?" She said, "Well, when we bought this, we decided to do a little extra." I said, "Okay, but the thing about the festivals, at the Dyer, it was so wonderful out there. The people, when I'm walking around, I'm watching people, I'm watching families, and it was just wonderful. Like about 4 or 5 young kids were already kind of inside of the Dyer area, and they had backpacks. And an officer walked up to the kids and says, "Hey, you guys, you got to take those back to your car." And what was so nice about it is the kids. That's what inspired me, is that the kids must have been raised good, because they said, "No problem, sir," and they say, "Sir," and they walk and take it and take it back. And families. I've seen people sitting out there at the Dyer, sitting at picnic tables, eating wonderful food from all the vendors from out there. And one thing I noticed about so much of the families together at the festivals this weekend, they're enjoying themselves. They're sitting around having a good time, and they're not playing on them stupid phones.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's sort of always been, well, more importantly though, so now I am a cherry on my elephant ear guy. Lynette, how about you? Toppings on elephant ears?
I don't eat them often, but I think it's just powdered sugar and the chocolate syrup.
See, there's some now they put like ice cream on it, or they'll make like one with chocolate or like a caramel apple, or all kinds of toppings. So, but that's the way to go. That's living right there. But anyway, okay, back to that. I mean, that was one of my, obviously Bob's the president of Dyer. That was always for me when I said, if your community, if government's going to spend money, I want it to be on things that benefit everybody, not just a select few. And that's sort of my issue with, I understand, pickleball or whatever, but even the millions and millions we spend on bike trails, and only a handful of people are using those. I mean, that's the thing. Government has finite resources. Use it on things that will benefit the entire community, not just your friends. And I think festivals are a great way to do that. Bob and his team put together a tremendous amphitheater. They put together a tremendous park out there, which was just, when I was growing up, it was literally a cornfield. And now they've made this tremendous park that everybody gets to use. And they have festivities that are designed for everybody, all types of, young, old, kids, older fans of music. There's just something for everybody to do. And I think for me, like, that's what government should be doing. And I applaud them and everybody else. I mean, I talked to a few people that were going to Griffith, and everybody talks about, obviously, Griffith does such a great job with their festival. So it's, that's what I want to see more of. And like you said, when you do stuff like that, the families come out, and you don't have teen takeovers. You don't have kids acting foolish. You have the whole family coming out and having a good time, and that's what we want to see in our communities, right? So I mean, kudos to them, and it's unfortunate that the weather made it so difficult for the local communities to have their festivals this weekend. But yeah, you're right. I saw a lot of that too. A lot of families out there, and kids eating different treats and going on rides. So it was a great thing to see.
Yeah, and that's like that amphitheater at Dyer. I took pictures before it was finished. Then I was out there Friday, and the band was starting to play, and the sound from that is just phenomenal. It was just clear quality, and just beautiful. And I was further back by the rides, and you could still hear it, but not loud, but it was good.
That was exactly exactly the design. We wanted it to be nice and loud up front if you wanted to hear the music, but we also didn't want it to be overwhelming for the kids at the festival. So, I guess Dyer hired the right
yeah.
consultants on this one. I wonder who it was. But
yeah. But you know, one thing about the festivals is the most amazing thing is all the vendors out there just had tremendous and wonderful food to supply to people to.
Right.
That,
Again, a lot of local
all,
people. Brent was out there.
All the events, yeah. All the events I went to, everybody was just eating and eating and eating, and I'm thinking, okay, we don't have Richard Simmons around no more, so I just don't know if Jenny Craig is still around, but some people are going to have to kind of behave and
they can all have
chill out
they can have a salad today. It'll be fine. It'll balance out. But again, all local people.
Yeah,
Brent,
but, you know,
Stan from Big Frank's, a lot of local vendors out there. You know, support the local community. If you're going to spend, it's nice to go someplace and there's no Chili's and no McDonald's. You can actually buy local food by local people. So, but hey, we do have to. Go ahead.
You know, I went to the Griffith and I went over to Stan's, you know, Big Frank's, because I can get Spam hot dogs at his place, you know, in East Chicago. But when I went to Griffith, I asked him, I said, you got any Spam hot dogs? No. I'm like, man, I was expecting a Spam hot dog from Griffith.
I have not tried one yet. I don't know that I've had Spam before, so maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll do a Facebook Live where Lynette and I and the whole team will go and eat Spam hot dogs. So she'll actually come with us this time. He won't try it, but the rest of us will.
Jed won't. But you know one thing, I saw in the news somewhere. I know I don't want to talk a lot of sports, but did Lake Central win something? Their team or something?
I don't know. I heard Joe doing his final sports update. Were you listening? I wasn't listening to sports. No. Yeah. Whatever. Well, maybe we'll play the sports update and then. Yeah. I don't follow these things, but I think Joe mentioned it on the sports report, so maybe we'll play that later today.
Because they
kudos to them for winning.
They were escorted back to town.
Yeah. No. I missed that, but I think Joe will mention it in the sports report later today, so we can we'll all hear that together.
All right.
But we do have to take some calls.
Out there, everybody out there, just have a wonderful, safe day and just have a nice day now.
Thank you so much. It's nice seeing you out there. Hopefully, I'll see you at the next festival. So we have more callers. Let's take the next caller. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
You know that in Hawaii, Spam items are like a culinary delight.
I've heard that. The Hawaiians, they love their Spam.
Yep, and they really go to town on it. All kinds of amazing dishes. I'm not a big fan of Spam, but they love it.
Now that was something, Walt. Did that come out of World? I'm trying to remember. Was that that came out of World War II? Was it not? That was they're looking for
exactly
like rations or MREs essentially, and they came up with Spam, and then that ended up in Hawaii, and the Hawaiians discovered. I mean, yeah. So that was that's a World War II delicacy.
Right. Exactly.
So what do you want to talk about?
Good reason not to go. Here's another good reason to not go into Chicago. A front-page story of the Chicago Sun-Times. 1,200 crimes, 1 arrest. Chicago cops failed to address boom in airbag theft. You know, the Chicago Sun-Times is the left-wing newspaper, and they've been very, when it comes to the left-wing Democrats who talk about defunding the cops, they don't offer any particular criticism about that kind of insanity. Back during the Black Lives Matter insurrection, there were 3 waves of violence in Chicago. One resulted in 1,000 businesses destroyed and damaged. The Chicago Police Department begged that the mayor, Lightfoot, call out the National Guard to back them up, because they said that we'll be overwhelmed if we don't have backing from the National Guard.
Well, I remember.
Refused.
Yeah, you and I we talked about this on the air years ago. They disrupted a city council meeting. The police came and said, "We need you to support us." They said, "We need your backing. Right. We need you to support us. We can't do our jobs without your support." And again, it fell on deaf ears. And then, and that's the thing, is that they keep claiming that crime is down. And everybody that I've ever talked to that has been a victim of a crime, they essentially said, we're not taking a report. It doesn't warrant a report. So yeah, it's easy to say crime is down when you don't take any reports, right? I mean, short of somebody being killed or stabbed, other than that, they're not taking reports. I mean, most people I know have had their windows broken or airbags or whatever has been stolen. They don't take a report. Then they go on the news 6 months later, go, oh, crime's down. It's like, no, you don't take reports anymore. Hey, Walt, I wanted to go ahead.
Yeah. Well, when you have high levels of brazen violence and the cops are undermanned, what are they going to do? They're going to emphasize the violent crimes, and they're going to de-emphasize the crimes of property type thing.
Well,
it's obvious.
Right. I mean, there was one time I was in Lincoln Park. We went to go see a concert. We parked right by Lincoln Park. And when we came out of the concert, half of the cars on the street had their windows broken. My wife, who's doesn't spend time in Chicago, is like, she was baffled. And I said, here's the thing. Nobody is going to intervene. There's a guy just walking down the street, breaking windows and stealing change. Nobody in the community will intervene because they're afraid of getting shot or stabbed. The police probably aren't going to show up. Nobody's going to call the police. So this guy knows, I mean, again, that's the cause and effect. You know that nobody cares. So you could just walk down the street breaking windows, looking for change or cell phones or whatever, and nobody cares. And that's the part that people don't understand. That's the cause and effect, is that when you have police that aren't going to intervene, people that aren't, citizens that aren't going to intervene, you can just walk down the street and break windows. Nobody cares. And, unless it's your car. And then when you call the police, they're not going to take a report. It's pretty straightforward. Walt, I did want to shift gears before we take a break, and I wanted to talk about Elon Musk. So you are somebody who I know understands economics. Let's talk about this real quick. So Friday, Forbes declared Elon Musk the world's first trillionaire. So SpaceX stock IPO'd once it hit about $150 a share. Elon Musk was officially a trillionaire. And not only, it was funny over the weekend, obviously, Walt, the left is just absolutely out of their minds at the fact that Elon Musk is a trillionaire, because I think the left believes that he has it like under his mattress. I think they believe that he's hoarding it in cash under his mattress, and they somehow believe that he took their money. Like somehow that by him this is that fundamental disconnect between currency and wealth. They think that for every dollar Elon Musk has in wealth on paper, tied up in his stocks, which most of his money is tied up, he's basically cash poor. He's all tied up in stocks. Somehow that affects their lives. And this idea, I tell all these people that are so outraged at Elon Musk, I said, maybe if you took some of that energy at hating Elon Musk and actually used it to start your own business or do something constructive, maybe you would be successful too. You spend your life complaining about successful people, saying, all weekend, all I kept hearing was trillionaires shouldn't exist. And so I go back to, SpaceX is a perfect example. For those that don't understand, NASA was fundamentally dead in the water going into space. They didn't even have, right around the time of the Obama administration, the shuttle program was end of life. There was our space program is spending $20+ billion a year and couldn't even go into space. SpaceX comes along, Elon Musk comes along with his own money, develops a more efficient engine, a more efficient vehicle, one that can survive reentry, and he came in and saved NASA. He came in, NASA now has to use his engines. So, I mean, this guy has been using his money, because we didn't take it all, to do good things for the society, and they hate him for it. I mean, Walt, how do we explain to these people that creating wealth, not only did he get wealthy, he created 4,000 millionaires, because just like with Tesla, he was giving stock options to SpaceX employees. Cafeteria workers, janitors are now millionaires because they got pre-IPO stock from SpaceX. That's how you create wealth. He created wealth for 4,000 generational wealth for 4,000 families, and they hate him for it. Walt, tell me, how do we deal with these people? What do we say to them?
Well, there's nothing to say, because they're proud of their ignorance. Let me give you an example. People in the media, they're proud of the fact, I don't do math well, blah blah blah.
Right,
blah.
right,
And
sure.
When they write stories, it sounds like they don't understand math. And I would say, when I say math, I'm not talking about adding, I'm not talking about calculus or high-level statistics. I'm talking about basic adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. I was reading an article in one of the local papers, and the writer kept using the word average this, average that, blah blah blah. So I called him. Those are the days where you could do that fairly easily. And I said to him, I'm reading your article here, and you keep using the word average. What do you mean by that? Do you mean median,
like median? Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Go ahead.
These are the three measures of central tendency. What did he say to me? Does it make any difference? Well, of course it does. There's a difference between those three measures of central tendency.
Right.
And if you don't explain it, I mean, it is easily misinterpreted. But they're proud of their ignorance. They're people on the left. They're proud of their hypocrisy, for example. To accuse of wokest Democrats of being hypocritical is a waste of your breath, and because they're proud of being hypocritical. So there's the effort to explain anything to them. I mean, when they don't understand basic concepts of supply and demand, what are you going to say? When it comes to the police and they demand defunding the police, and then there's a dramatic increase in crime, they don't seem to make a connection there.
Right.
I think that we're caught in a really hopeless situation, and I don't think it bodes well for the future.
Well, and I mean, that's the unfortunate thing is putting all that aside, the idea that you have a generation that's basically it's almost become, there was a point in time when you would look up to somebody and you'd say, wow, that person's successful. They did good things. They have a nice car, whatever. And now it's almost detrimental to be successful. So what, and again, sort of like that cause and effect we talked about earlier with crime, this idea that if people are afraid to become successful because they're afraid of, basically you see what Elon Musk has been through the last few years, or Jeff Bezos or anybody, why would they put the effort into being successful, or why would they try? I mean, again, this idea that at a certain point you go, well, why am I going to try to do this? The world is going to hate me for being successful. I've invented something, I've made something more efficient. I've done something to create wealth, but the world's going to hate me for doing it. Right. I mean, it's sort of that thing where why you go back to that word average. Being above average is detrimental. So the people that have the ability to be above average, they're going to be afraid to be above average. They're going to be afraid to come out and say I'm above average, or I've done something to become wealthy. I've created a business, and that's going to create, like you said, that word average, right? It's going to create average people that don't want to try harder because why bother, right? Or we have the society that we're going to take your wealth away after you hit a certain amount. Well, why would I bother? Why would I devote my life to making a successful business to become wealthy if you're just going to take it away? Why would I bother if you're just going to take it away from me at 85, 90% tax rate? Why would I bother? I can just go enjoy my life instead of the stress of running a business. So, but hey, Walt, we do have to take a break. I appreciate you as always. Stick around. We had a bunch of other stuff to talk about. We got Bears update. Paul Goddard reminded me about, we got to talk about the flooding issues that happened over the weekend. Were you affected by that? We still have some lingering effects if you were affected by we'll just call it the tornadic winds that came through the region last week. So if you want to chime in on any of that stuff, 219-845-1100. We'll be back with more after this.
For over 100 years, Roofers Local 26 has been keeping Northwest Indiana dry and safe. Since 1919, our highly trained members have built a reputation for skills, safety, and reliability. With a 4-year apprenticeship and certifications in OSHA safety, first aid, and CPR, we deliver quality you can trust. When you need roofing done right, choose Roofers Local 26, protecting what matters most for over a century. For more information, visit www.roofers26.com.
Introducing Powers Health, a health system with a new name and a strong legacy of caring for families in our community. One with a tradition of advanced specialized services and a vision for the future. One with a commitment to medical excellence and compassionate care. Everything we do, everything we believe, Powers Health.
When your home needs help, the last thing you need is a faceless corporation or sales-driven franchise. At Myers Companies, we've been proudly local since 1951, born and raised right here in Northwest Indiana. We're family-owned and operated, built on trust, hard work, and integrity. And because we're family, we treat you like family. Your comfort and safety always come first. For HVAC, plumbing, and electrical done right, choose Myers Companies. Local, family owned. Here for your family.
Ogren Insurance, Hammond's oldest family-owned independent insurance agency, now in its third generation providing clients in the Chicago area with products from quality insurance companies to handle your every need. Regardless of driving history, Ogren Insurance can find the right coverage for you at competitive prices. To learn more about the insurance solutions and services we offer throughout Indiana, Illinois, and Michigan, call 219-933-0076 or visit our website, ogreninsurance.com. We're located at 6929 Homan Avenue in Hammond, Indiana. Do business locally with someone you know and trust.
It is 6:30 here in the region. Chuck Pullen with you. Bob Starkey taking a sick day after a long weekend of festival planning and festival execution down in Dyer. So we'll catch up with him later this week or next week and hear more about the festival and the inclement weather that rained them out for a couple days. But taking a look at traffic, things looking good here in Indiana. 80, 94, 65, Skyway Toll Road, everything looking good. On the Illinois side, Bishop Ford to the Dan Ryan looking good. Dan Ryan into the Circle looking good. A little slowdown in the usual spot downtown. 80 looking good. 294, everything looking good. The only heads up I will give you, looks like former President Obama coming home to Hyde Park. So his motorcade came in earlier down Lakeshore Drive. So if you head to that area, if you use Lakeshore Drive to get into the city, just heads up. Depending on that motorcade movement, that may make things a little difficult to navigate Lakeshore Drive or Hyde Park. So if you're going that way, just keep an eye on that motorcade. It's been a while since he's been home. I assume he's probably going to his library for. They recently opened that, and they've been giving tours. I'm assuming he's going to visit his library. So if you're going to that area or going down Lakeshore Drive, heads up on that. Lynette, how's weather?
Good morning, everyone. Today we're at 56 degrees with highs of 74 and lows of 58. It's going to be pleasant with partial sunshine and should be the nicest day of the week. And tomorrow and Tuesday we'll be having highs of 68 and lows of 54. It should be cloudy and breezy with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm. And then Wednesday we'll be having highs of 68 and lows of 61 with clouds, showers, and a heavier thunderstorm in the afternoon and should be breezy.
Fantastic. Thank you. So anybody have any issues due to the rain? I know I'm going to get this from Region News Source. So we had flooding on 8094 near Kennedy caused multiple crashes Sunday morning. Heavy rainfall Sunday morning led to a dangerous flooding conditions on westbound and eastbound 8094 near the Kennedy Avenue exit, causing multiple crashes and prompting warnings from state police. So essentially, Region News Source received information that Little Calumet River officials alerted INDOT that their pumping station was offline Thursday and flashing at the corner of 179th and Kennedy. So basically, the INDOT pumps were off. Nobody from the power outage on Thursday. INDOT replied that it has been out. Nobody from INDOT replied, and it has been out since. And the water continued to rise. So, and we kind of know that spot, just right is up to the east of Kennedy Avenue. That spot flooded a few times during the 08 flood. The highway was closed for a few days because of that. But essentially, the INDOT pumps turned off. They didn't turn them back on. And locals like Dan Ripe came to the rescue, according to Region News Source. And Dan, I'll let him explain what happened on his show on Thursday if he's going to be in. But kudos to them. It's unfortunate. I was joking with the Lieutenant Governor the other day. I said, put me in charge of INDOT. I have zero qualifications, zero skills. I would be perfect. I couldn't do any worse. And here we are, another example of INDOT failing Northwest Indiana. But they can't wait to give us flex lanes and give us toll roads. But, hey, all we ask is pretty simple. Pave the roads and don't let them flood. Can't do that. But and if anybody was stuck out there in that, I had family coming in. My son graduated his 18th birthday yesterday, so we had family in town, and everybody's talking about how bad. The first thing they said, I forgot how bad traffic was in the region. All my family that came from down south, they said, we forget how bad traffic. I said, well, it's because our major highways flooded as it goes. So yeah, I mean, again, we work so hard here in the region, but things like that, when people come in from out of town and that's the first thing they deal with is like, man, I hate coming to Northwest Indiana. The traffic's horrible. 8094 is horrible. That's the impression. That's the first thing I hear from people when they come in from out of town is like, man, traffic's bad and all this. They're like, I forget how bad traffic is until I come visit, and it's amazing that, I always joke that 8094 has been under construction since I was a child, and it seems like every iteration is worse than the last. But that's how it goes. So 219-845-1100. Got any calls?
Nope.
Okay, perfect. So I wanted to talk about this story that came out about the Bears and IDEM. So this comes from Channel 5 last week. So they are saying that now let's step back a little bit. So obviously we've all been kind of the opinion that there's really just the one site. Again, I'm not going to claim to know everything. I know that, Mr. Mayor somewhere, he can talk about this more on, he can talk more about this on his show tomorrow or whatever, because he knows more about it than I do. I'm just going to tell you what Chicago media is reporting, and maybe he'll say that's wrong or that's right, or, somebody from downstate can chime in on it. But basically, the Bears officials are saying that there are issues or concerns with the primary site. Specifically, there are issues with Lost Marsh. So they're essentially saying that, and I was trying to find it, I didn't pull it up here. So essentially, my understanding is Chicago media is reporting they had basically asked IDEM and different agencies, hey, are anybody pulling permits yet? Are we doing any studies? Like what evidence? So the Chicago media is basically asking Indiana, officials, what evidence do we have that the Bears are serious about this? If you're going to do something of this scale, you probably need to start pulling permits and doing studies. Obviously, you guys remember with the train, we did impact studies, and that's how things work anymore. You don't just build something; you do 5 years of impact studies and statements, and consultants on top of consultants to tell you whether there's an endangered butterfly somewhere before you build something. So I mean, it's a valid issue. Like, hey, if you're going to do a project this big, at some point you need to start doing studies and pulling permits. And basically, IDEM said, hey, there's a moratorium on building on pieces of Lost Marsh for 50 years. So that would seriously impact the footprint of a potential stadium in that area. And obviously, we've talked about the idea would be, again, all speculative, that the pavilion area, Lost Marsh, Calumet Avenue gets rerouted. That whole area would be part of the campus. But, if you lose Lost Marsh, that's kind of a big piece of that puzzle. So there's people, again, when the Bears put out that statement, they said kind of cryptically that they were looking at sites, plural. And so this idea that the site is not, as nailed down as we thought. So there's potentially other sites. I don't know if anybody's heard what those other sites are. I really can't imagine where that might be. Maybe a little bit further north, but it will be interesting to see if this becomes a problem. But also, going back to what I said earlier, this is the thing about government. Government creates rules. IDEM creates rules that maybe, that affect local government. But at the end of the day, if IDEM says, hey, there's a 50-year moratorium, there's no reason why the governor couldn't say, well, it's the Bears. It's fine. We'll just get my red marker out and just go ahead and just cross that little moratorium out. We'll have a little, thing, and it's fine. It's because again, technically it's a state-owned building. So maybe the governor will just go, yeah, I know there's a rule, but it's for me. It's okay. It's our rule. We can break it because we're government. So it'll be interesting to see kind of, what that looks like. Several people since then, like for instance, I've got an article here that says that this, we're still, some of the Chicago media is still saying that this is a bluff. There's several officials that are saying, this is a done deal. This is a done deal. We just haven't selected the site. So, I mean, that may be a big question. Again, that's a big, a lot of people have sort of looked at it and said, well, here's the site, here's who it will affect. And now, now there's other sites in play. And now we all need to be kind of paying attention and going, well, where are these other sites and who would that affect? I mean, again, at the end of the day, we should be concerned. My concern, and I keep reiterating, is the idea that I'm concerned about, people potentially losing their homes, people losing their businesses. How will this impact? Again, if you're one of those businesses where a major road like Calumet Avenue is going to be closed for several years to be rerouted, how is that going to affect your business? So, I mean, stuff like that. It just, for small business owners, those are serious considerations for us. So we've got that on the table. Walt and I earlier were talking about Elon Musk because I think that's a really interesting story. Elon is now the world's first trillionaire. after SpaceX IPO'd. So essentially, he creates these businesses. And again, there's a lot of people out there that go, oh, well, he got emerald mine money from his dad and all these things that they're not true. They're not true. And, it's very frustrating over the weekend just to be on social media and stuff like that, where you see people going, well, trillionaires shouldn't exist. Billionaires shouldn't exist. People shouldn't be wealthy. And I always ask, again, as sort of a free market guy, I say, well, then what is your motivation? I know that most of the people that say that don't do anything. You don't have a business. You don't know the frustrations of building a business and, trying to find money to start your business or to grow your business. I know you don't understand the frustrations of being a small business owner. But again, like at the end of the day, it's very stressful, right? I mean, you can sit here and go, Elon Musk doesn't do anything, even though he's, the CEO of multiple companies. You can sit here and say that all day long while you smoke weed and play video games for a living. But I mean, at the end of the day, what is the motivation for somebody? Obviously Jeff Bezos is another example. The guy, guy started, I remember when he started Amazon, I bought used books from him in college, 20 something years ago, 25, 26 years ago, whatever it was now, when they first came out, when they were a used bookstore and a used online bookstore. And look what Amazon's become now. But I mean, that's the kind of stuff where, they've devoted their life to something. And now it's like, hey, kudos, you were successful. Now we're going to take your wealth because you did something good. You did something. And again, I mean, I'm no fan of spending all this money on space exploration, but to see one of Elon's rockets get caught by a giant set of chopsticks, as I call it, is pretty neat. It's a neat thing. And I'm glad Elon's spending his money to do it, or private money is being used to do it, instead of NASA spending $20+ billion of my money to do it. Right. So, I mean, at the end of the day, and I keep asking this idea, and I'll pose this to all of you, that if you think that we should take Elon's wealth, what would we do with that money? We created a law to take $15 billion from Elon, and people like, Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren were saying, well, it's not enough. I said, well, what are you going to do with that money? Show me that you're going to be a more responsible steward of his $15 billion than he will. Because right now I see him investing his money in corporations and doing things that are moving society forward. I see you just wasting it. We're $39 trillion in debt, and you can't even account for any of it. We keep creating more programs, and you can't even account for the dollars that you're spending. The Pentagon hasn't been audited in 50 years. The Department of Defense, they readily admit they just make up numbers. And you're telling me that we should give you more money? You can't account for what you have. You're spending $1 trillion a year in interest. And you're telling, give us more money. We're going to tax people more. We're going to take more of your money. We're going to take more of your money out of the free market, out of the private sector, not to be used to invest in growing businesses, pushing society. We're going to take your money, and we can't even tell you where it went. Right? I mean, that's what I tell people. I said, clean up your own house. I do not trust you with a dime of my money or dime of Elon Musk's money or anybody else's money, and yet you want more of it. So why don't we take a call? And the boss is welcome to join us. Hey, Jim, Bob Starkey taking a sick day, so if you want to join me, feel free. But let's take a call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Speaking of not trusting people with their money, hold on. You've been on for 41 minutes now, and you've not mentioned data centers yet.
7 o'clock.
Can I crack the ice?
How about that? Well, yeah, we can do that. No, I wanted Jim to come in because he's going to tell me how I'm wrong about everything, and we have good discussions. So I was going to say how great they were, but again, we'll talk. Yeah, we can definitely crack the ice on that and start talking about it.
All right, talking about money as it relates to data centers, and everybody keeps talking about what a great windfall these data centers are for local communities, particularly Hobart, which overnight has become one of the most affluent financially communities in the United States. I brought this up to Dabberton last week, and it doesn't seem to be getting any traction, and maybe it's just me, but I can't figure out why more people aren't talking about this. So let's talk about Hobart.
Okay.
All right. The people in Hobart unanimously said they did not want a data center. So what does the city council do and the mayor? They poo-poo what their constituents wanted, and they move forward with a data center. They get their first big paycheck. I don't know, $45 million. Is that what they got deposited?
Yeah, something along those lines, right?
Something along those lines. Okay. So who had the final say-so as far as whether or not this data center goes in? It was the mayor and the city council. So none other than who is it? Mark from Hobart, Mark Koppel, Hobart City Councilman, who also happens to be an employee at the Moose Lodge. I thought he was the president. I misspoke last week. According to Huddleston, he's just a volunteer. What was the first distributions of of money that Hobart made once receiving that first installment on the data center? They give the Hobart Moose Lodge $100,000. They give Mark Koppel, the Hobart City Councilman that voted yes for the data center and happens to be a quote-unquote volunteer at the Hobart Moose Lodge, and that's one of the first distributions they make is to give a non-for-profit organization in Hobart who happens to be ran by one of the Hobart City Councilmen $100,000.
Okay, so
I am to believe.
Go ahead.
So I am to believe that the council and the government in Hobart are going to be good stewards of that money when the first disbursement they make is to put a facelift on a non-for-profit that one of the Hobart City Councilmen happens to run.
So here's what I would say. Just you are obviously welcome to put that out, and then obviously I know
it's accurate.
I know, and Councilman Mark, I know he's a regular listener, so he's obviously welcome to chime in at any point. He knows the number if he would like to respond to that, or he can respond to me in text or whatever he'd like to do. So again, you've put that accusation out there, and he's welcome to respond to that. So
it's not an accusation.
Okay, well, I'm just saying
you're
right, but I mean you're putting it out there, and then we're giving him the opportunity to respond to that and explain his side of it, because again, that's how we do things here. But let's talk about this, because there's a couple of aspects here. Now, I found the article here. There was a community near St. Louis. Is it called Festus? I think it was called Festus. So, I mean, there have been several communities where the council has, as you mentioned, basically the community was against it. The council pushed it forward, and they lost re-election because of it. So basically there was, and this is an article from April. Basically they said that there was a promise of political reckoning because residents opposed a $6 billion data center. 4 city council members lost re-election bids. So essentially there are communities where, as you said, the community's against it, the council pushes it forward, and they all lose re-election. And again, I'm not gonna chime in specifically about data centers, but I mean, this is, that's kind of how things go. Where if you don't like the direction your community is going in, you deal with it in the voting booth. I mean, that's sort of the bottom line. But
here's my concern as it relates to that. What kind of a money grab is going to take place between now and the next election before these guys are ousted? Take Philpott, for instance. He knew what he was doing. He was collecting all that money for years, and he knew what was wrong, and he was willing to roll the dice and pay the price would he ultimately get a 2-year sentence? But how much money did the guy make? Or any one of these other Lake County officials that did the wrong thing, filled their pockets with as much money as they can, and they were willing to roll the dice and pay the repercussions at the end. My concern is if Hobart already got a $45 million installment on this thing, how big are these pockets going to be of the mayor and the council? Because they are ultimately the ones that made the decision on this.
Right. No, this go back to even, remember, I don't know if you guys were around. Remember when we first brought casinos to town, there was all this question about divvying up the money, and, 10% would go to the city, to certain organizations. And like Gary, for instance, had is it the GUEA, or I forget who it was. And then there was just money just sort of disappeared along the way. Right. I mean, and that's sort of the concern. That's the concern we should always have. Same thing with the train, or the local option income tax. We created a new pool of money, and then Pete Visclosky came around and said, I need a little bit of that money for the next 30 years. So you are right to be concerned, and this is always my issue whenever we create a new pool of money. What is the accountability for where it's going? And again, I'm not a Hobart resident, but if this was my community, that'd be the first thing I'd be asking is, we're creating a new pool of money. I would like to see an accounting of where it's going. And if there are concerns, we will, flag them and go, why is this person getting money? Why is this organization getting money? And again, that to me is that part where we as residents, as voters, we need to be the ones that need to show up at these meetings and start saying, okay, you have money. We want to see where it's going, instead of waiting on the back end and finding out that, a good portion of it kind of just disappeared. So, I mean, valid concerns.
Somebody needs to take a closer look at this, because right out of the gate, it's in your face and they don't care. So that's my biggest concern moving forward. How much are these guys going to fill their pockets with this $45 million? You know what? If you're going to do something for your community, reduce the cost that these people are paying for their water bill every month. Do something that's going to benefit the entire area.
Well, it's the same argument. We had the lieutenant governor on last week, and I used the example of we were talking about the local option income tax. I said, why? One of the reasons I started doing radio, because I was baffled and outraged by the idea that we had both 4 casinos and we were adding new taxes. It's like, well, you have the casinos. Why are we adding new taxes on top of that? So same question. I mean, again, any time that you have these new pool of money, we should be asking where is it going and who's getting it and who's benefiting it and things like that. So again, all valid concerns. But hey, appreciate the call. We do have to take a break. We're going to reset. The boss is here. He's got his cream cheese and bagel and his cream. He's got his bagel and his schmear, and we're gonna have a few nibbles on that. We'll be back with more after this.
Summer's coming, and Deep River Water Park is taking applications for all positions. We have jobs both inside and out for all ages that offer great benefits. Free admission on your day off for you and a friend. Free uniforms, paid training, make new friends, flexible scheduling, and more. To apply, just go to deepriverwaterpark.com and you're on your way to a summer of rewarding fun.
Deep River Water Park. It's simply splash-tastic.
From the gas in your car to the heat in your home and the roads that you drive on, our work powers daily life. We are USW Local 71, the proud men and women of the Whiting Refinery. We're not just refinery workers. We're your friends and neighbors, raising our families here, shopping in the same stores, and cheering in the same stands. USW Local 71, powering the region because we are the region.
Life's biggest challenges don't come with a warning. When legal issues arise, whether it's a car accident, personal injury, criminal charge, or representing you before municipal boards, you need a trusted advocate on your side. At Westland & Bennett, we listen first because your story matters. We provide strategic, personalized legal solutions to protect your rights, your freedom, and your future. Peace of mind starts with a conversation. Call 219-440-7550 today for a free consultation.
It's the simplest expression. The smallest thing that changes everything. A smile. So easy. A smile lights it up. Apologizes. And welcomes unconditionally. Because the shortest distance between two people is a smile.
Thank you.
Strachan Van Til, where making life easier starts with a smile.
Good. So the guy walks in like he's going to do radio with me, and then as soon as you're like, "Hey, time," he just like wanders off again. So I don't know if he's coming back. I don't know. Maybe he's spraying for bugs. I don't know. But okay, Chuck Pullen here with you. It's 6:53 here in the region. The boss, Jim Didlow, going to sit with me. We're going to talk data centers in the next hour. I'm going to demystify data centers for everybody, Jim, and I want you to join me with that conversation, and we'll talk about that because you
traffic on weather when you're here. Or what?
I was going to wait till 7 o'clock. If you'd like me to, I can do. There's nothing to talk about.
Here's why you can't do it in the middle of a segment.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. We're going to do a short segment. I'm going to introduce you to my audience, and then we're going to reset at 7 o'clock, and we'll do traffic and weather.
Well, there's guys driving right now.
Okay, well, there's nothing. Oh, here, I'll do traffic. There's no traffic unless you're taking Lakeshore Drive. Be aware the Obama motorcade is moving around Hyde Park, so just be aware of that if you're a Lakeshore Drive person. Other than that, everything else looking great. How's the weather?
Good morning, everyone. Today we're at 57 degrees with highs of 74 and lows of 58. It's going to be pleasant with partial sunshine. Should be the nicest day of the week. And tomorrow on Tuesday, we'll be having highs of 68 and lows of 54. It should be cloudy and breezy with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm. And Wednesday, we'll be having highs of 68 and lows of 61 with clouds, showers, and a heavier thunderstorm in the afternoon, and should be breezy.
Thank you so much. My guest with me this morning, Jim Didlow, who you may know as the owner of this radio station.
So what happened to Starkey?
He had a long weekend. We can talk about.
He has poor attendance.
As I say, he texted me a couple hours ago. He's like, "I'm taking a sick day." I'm like, "We can do that." Like I said, I was going to take. He said, "I lost my voice." I said, "Well, so did I." But so it's fine. It's actually funny to come in sick and not have a voice. But so he's taking a sick day. We can talk about that a little bit because it's weather related. But go ahead. You want to? Yeah.
I wanted to turn my ears down a little bit.
Did you want to take a few bites and I'll talk, or what do you want to do?
No,
you're good.
I'm fine.
Okay.
You know, I just wanted to. I know you talked about it already, but it was a weird deja vu yesterday morning as I'm watching Meet the Press, which I was in 2008, and all of a sudden people are texting me, hey, you know, the Borman is overflowing. I knew the river was high because I'd been riding my bike. Hart Ditch and Little Cal River are pretty high. And all of a sudden there's a big puddles in the middle of the Borman, and it's right in the middle of the Borman, so it was actually affecting both directions.
Right.
Part of the reason you could tell is I got on Ridge Road to get over there, and I'm like, holy moly,
bunch of
what's
trucks
going
and
on?
stuff?
It's all these trucks.
Yeah.
All right, well, so I get over there, and I go on top of the Kennedy Avenue Bridge, and you could go watch that video if you want on Facebook or Substack. And I did a couple of them. Maybe you could pull that up, Lynette.
So it's from Jim's page.
Yeah.
Paul Goddard shared it.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to try to play that in the background.
And I'm
from the
talking
Zoom.
to Goddard on my phone. I'm talking to Repay. And I just want to show, I could kind of tell from the beginning, just from having covered this, doing a documentary about the river, having grown up on the river, the pumps weren't on. You could kind of tell that. And I'm like, I don't want to be the guy. My dad did those pumps when he worked. And I worked on those pumps. And I'm like, those pumps right in front of Byway, right on Kennedy, they're not humming.
So let me tell you this is what Paul Goddard's reporting. So Region News source received information that the Little Calumet River officials alerted INDOT that their pumping station was offline Thursday. So basically they're saying that there was a power outage, as you mentioned, 179th and Kennedy. And basically just like anything else, the circuit's tripped and nobody turned it back on. It could be as simple as turning the stations back on after a power outage, but nobody from INDOT replied or has been out since. But essentially, local officials, including Dan Repay, had to come out and basically help them get to the pumps and reset them, and then the water went down. So we always joke about somebody turned the pumps on. Literally, in this case, somebody had to go turn the pumps
on. It was even better. I go up on top. I'm the first person there. I'm like I did that video. I don't know how many thousands. And plus, you put it on Goddard's page, and it was tens of thousands of people watching the video. And they're like, what? The Borman? Oh, my gosh. So we had to, Paul and I kind of walked it back and said, I think the pumps are on. I think you're going to be okay in a couple hours. And they were. But for a moment there, it really looked bad because the Little Cal was really high. And it was right underneath the bottom of the Kennedy Avenue Bridge. Right there. And I'm like, God, I think at some point they're going to raise that bridge, right? That's the next step or whatever. And I'm like, oh, geez, here we go again. So I go up on top of the Kennedy Avenue, and luckily they're doing construction, so there's a lane for me to park. And then I do the video, and the Hammond police come over like, what are you doing? Are you okay? What's happening? So then they found out who I was. But I went and sat at Wendy's, and I'm like, well, heck, man, I might as well have a potato. I don't know. I got to see what happens. And I could see the Hammond guys across the street turning on the INDOT pumps.
Right.
Now, it doesn't make any sense, right?
It does, though.
Why does it? How does that make sense?
Because
those are Fowler's buddies. One of those was Fowler's good buddy. So why are they turning on the state's pumps?
Right. And why in 2026 do you not have a system? My house literally tells me when I have a power outage. My business tells me the status of all of my systems. I can tell you everything about what's going on, at my house with a fairly basic system. Why does INDOT not know that one of their pumps is off? Why does INDOT not know? Why do they not have why do I have sensors in my house to tell me if there's water and INDOT does not? I don't know. Somebody needs to ask INDOT why they do not have the same technology that the average person has in their house now.
Well, a lot of that comes down to the disconnect between Indianapolis and the region.
Why don't you go ahead and just play that and just sort of show some of the video?
Yeah,
just
show
play
in the background.
Mute the audio and just kind of play.
Yeah. So, I see this a lot. As you guys well know, we're like, there's only two companies up here who got...
Remember, next time you do a video, turn it this way so you get the full screen, too. You look...
Oh, all right.
Tall. My other thing, and I don't want to tell you how to do your business, but if you're going to do like an introduction to your documentary, now would be the time to shoot it while the water's high in the background, and you say, hey, it's still, or just just do a quick segment on the high water for your documentary and go, hey, it's still, decades later, we're still concerned about high water in the region.
That's a shameless plug to. We've storyboarded it and we're kind of moving forward on it, but we still need some assets.
Or if you want to interview me at Columbia Avenue, now would be the time with the water being high and everything. I'm just saying.
I need photos from 2008 flood.
I have some photos.
You've said that, but
I have the photos. No, I have the photos. I don't have the video. I have really good video that's never seen the light of day of the flood beginning that I shot for the news, and I can't find the tape. It might be here somewhere. Maybe you guys threw it away. I don't know.
So I think people were like kind of a little frightened, especially the ones that live near there and were texting me and calling me, and I'm like, I don't. At no point was the river ever in any danger.
Sure,
it was NDOT and the road and all that, which is not the Little Cal River. I mean, that was flowing. I went up by Hart Ditch. I river geek, just like Goddard and just like obviously Dan Repe, and we're all talking to each other. It was in pretty good hands. That it was being monitored by all of the appropriate digital monitoring, and then we were covering it, and Goddard was putting stuff up on his thing. So that whole system worked. They just got to get. I mean, the Borman is run by. It's a federal highway administered by the state.
Well, again,
and it's not in with the river,
right.
and that just kind of bugs me.
Multiple layers of government. Layers of government that's not centralized. That probably need to work on their communication and any number of things. So again, how about a flooding fusion center? How about you guys spearhead one of those?
So you're going to talk about data centers,
yes,
and I'm glad you brought that up. We're going to talk about it in the next segment. Because I have been doing a little bit of talking to a couple of people that I know on the coasts.
Fantastic.
About what you could do with data centers and, quite frankly, what you could do with the Bears. But why don't we just tease that?
It is 7:01 in the region. You're listening to AM 1230, 104.7 FM, beautiful Hammond, Indiana. We'll be back with more after this.
It's gold rush time at Albert's. Oh, looky here. Oh, those are going to fetch a pretty penny.
But who's going to buy them from us?
I'll buy that gold from you.
What did you say?
I said I'll buy that gold from you, and I'll give you top dollar.
That sounds great.
It's gold rush time. We will see you at Albert's.
Life's biggest challenges don't come with a warning. When legal issues arise, whether it's a car accident, personal injury, criminal charge, or representing you before municipal boards, you need a trusted advocate on your side. At Westland & Bennett, we listen first because your story matters. We provide strategic, personalized legal solutions to protect your rights, your freedom, and your future. Peace of mind starts with a conversation. Call 219-440-7550 today for a free consultation.
Fox Point's free summer Wednesday night concert series kicks off June 3rd with 16 Candles. As June heats up, dance to Rico, Boy Band Night, and the Chicago Experience. Then join us for our first free Friday Night Lights concert featuring Fearless, a Taylor Swift tribute, and Beyond the Blonde on June 26th. Fox Point in Lansing, Illinois is just minutes from I-8094 and parking is free. Visit foxpoint.org for our full schedule. That's point with an E, foxpoint.org.
We've had some cars run into the barrier wall, not paying attention. They were on their phone.
Texting, scrolling. Yeah, it's bad. Most often they be on their phones or they're just not paying attention. They can cause a crash.
We could stand on the side of the road and watch every other vehicle looking down into their lap as they're passing us. You know what they're looking at. They're looking at their phone.
Phones. On their phones, not paying attention.
Phones. I'm not a mathematician, but I say probably about 80% of the people who pass me are on their telephones.
No call, text, or video is worth putting yourself or a road worker in danger. When driving through construction, LIUNA members ask you for your sake and ours.
Slow down, stay off your phone, please. Be aware of where we're at, where the cone zones are at.
Stay off your phones and buckle up and drive safe.
We're not asking for much.
This is Brian Short, business manager for the Indiana Laborers District Council. Everyone deserves a safe place to work. Do your part in the cone zone. Slow down, save a life. We're all in this together.
A message from Laborers International Union of North America and affiliated locals.
Hey, it's 7:03 here in the region. You are listening to, is it it's still spring? Okay, Spring Chuck in here. Bob Starkey taking a sick day. He had a super long weekend dealing with Mother Nature out at the festival in Dyer. So it's just you and me. My guest today, Jim Diedlow, who you may know from owning this radio station. Let's take a first look at traffic and weather. Traffic looking fantastic. Nothing much to report at the moment. Here in Indiana, 80-94-65 Skyway Toll Road all looking good. On the Illinois side, Bishop Ford looking good into the Dan Ryan. Dan Ryan a little slow into the Circle as usual. Everything else in Illinois looking good. The only heads up right now is former President Obama making his way probably to the library. And he's back in his old neighborhood, Hyde Park. So if you're one of those people that takes the Lakeshore Drive, anything like that, just be aware of movements of the official motorcade later today. How is the weather?
Good morning, everyone. Today we're at 57 degrees with highs of 74 and lows of 58. It'll be pleasant with partial sunshine. It should be the nicest day of the week. And tomorrow on Tuesday, we'll be having highs of 68 and lows of 54. It should be cloudy and breezy with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm. And then Wednesday, we'll be having highs of 68 and lows of 61 with clouds, showers, and a heavier thunderstorm in the afternoon, and should be breezy.
So why don't we do this? Let's take our calls, and then you and I are going to demystify data centers here, going into Town of Griffith coming in at School Town of Griffith coming in at 8 o'clock. So you and I are going to spend the next hour talking, demystifying data centers, and talking about anything.
I don't know if they do or not.
You don't think they're coming in?
I don't know. I can't remember if they do it on.
They're on the calendar.
Is my levels good? I can't hear myself. Yeah. I don't. They're on the calendar. I don't know if they do that in June.
Well, so this is what we do then. We just talk until somebody shows up.
My levels good?
I hear you.
Good.
I hear you fine here. So.
Hi.
Okay. Good morning, sir.
Yeah. Hi. Can you hear me?
We can. I can. Jim may not, but I can hear. Go ahead.
Thanks for taking my call. My name is Charlie. So Jim is the owner of the radio station?
Technically.
Yes, I am.
Yes. I mean, yes.
So, Jim, I'm just a random person on YouTube. I live in California. I went to the live podcast. I've been listening to you. You have an interesting aura about you. I'm sure you're a normal human being. How did you come across owning a radio station? And any chance that I could audition to be a host, do like a show on your station?
Where are you from, Charlie?
He said California.
Where in California?
Well, the horrible part.
All of it?
Central California. Modesto or Stockton? Which one?
No, I wish I lived in Modesto. I wish I lived in Carmel. I wish I lived in a fancy place. No, I live in Los Angeles. But it's basically, it's like it's like the Obama Library. It's a toilet. But I'm curious, how could one come to be a host on your program? How did you start this? You just seem like you're an interesting person.
So I appreciate that. But I did go to college for 2 years at Occidental in East LA, and I mean, obviously I wanted to get out of LA, and I left and went to Berkeley, but I have a little fond part for certain parts of L.A., but mostly East L.A., the kind of part that people don't want to live in a lot of times, although that's yuppified in the last few years. So here's the deal. I was a trader at the Board of Trade for 20 years, and I was getting kind of aged out by the computers and by the fact that I turned 40. Most traders are 20s, mid-30s, tops. And I kind of aged out. I'm kind of like a relief pitcher or something. I probably stayed a couple more years than I should have. And then I just left, and I needed something else. So I had worked here out of college, and I just came back and bought the radio station. And that's all it was supposed to be, but now it's like all multimedia, and Chuck Pullen here is adding all this technology all the time, so it just keeps getting more complicated.
But here's what I like. It sounds like I'm going to assume you lean conservative. So I can see, I'm already seeing the California Conservative podcast or something along those lines, because again, there's this sort of thing where, the coasts consider the Midwest the flyover states. We talked quite a bit last week about what was happening with the LA, with the Los Angeles election and Nithya Raman and Karen and all that good stuff that was going on. But we don't know a lot about what's happening on the coast. So I think it would be neat to have sort of an East Coast, West Coast perspective for the Midwest to kind of talk about what's going on in the rest of the country. So what
are you into, Charlie?
What was your question?
What are you into? Like, what do you do?
I'm into funny. First of all, Trump is too liberal for me. He's way too liberal. I want a cop on every corner. I want all the illegal aliens that were brought in under the Biden administration. They're wonderful human beings. We're going to send them back to wherever they came from. We're going to vet them. We're going to find out, do you have a criminal history? Were you in a mental institution? That's just one segment. The other segment is just humor. It's sarcasm. It's looking at how all politicians are mostly corrupt. It's looking at how all the Hollywood celebrities, they're basically ridiculous human beings. They get words to recite, and they go and they pretend. And people like when people pretend, and then they admire them. They're just ridiculous human beings. So I'm not quite sure, but let me ask you something. Do you make money off your show? I'm not sure how much you invested into this. I'm not sure how much this Chuck guy is making. Are you making money off this? Do you have advertisers?
By the way, you just passed the audition.
Yeah, I was going to say. Just give them your email address.
Here's the thing.
Let's talk.
Yes. I mean, here's the kind of little secret right now. Basically, for 20, 25 years, there's been a massive shift against anything local. And it's gone to Facebook and Google and Instagram and all of that. Well, in the last 6 months, there's been a kind of a very quiet but massive shift to people wanting to brand safe next to high school athletes and to brand safe next to local news and local talk. So, a lot of the regional brands actually buy advertising from us. Now, you bring up a good point because I'm off the morning show. This is normally just me here and not Chuck and nobody else. But I never automated the process. So AI has allowed local brands to automate buying ads into local media. And that's what I'm out to basically make happen this summer. So, yes, we make some money, a little bit of money on the radio, but we make most of our money on streaming local sports. But anyways, here's the deal. You want a podcast. Here's what you do. I don't run that. 22-year-old woman who just graduated runs it, Adriana. And all you got to do is email her your contact info, Adriana at WJOB1230.com. Can you put that in the chat on YouTube? Put Adriana and put your email in there too, would you, Lynette? So you email either one of those. Tell them that you talked to me on the air, and we're always looking for talent. All right. We have.
Well, let me ask you a question. Okay. So let me. Okay. Okay. You know how some people are very overly confident, and like they think they're brilliant and they think they're really funny.
Yeah,
I
I'm in
can
a few
do
of those people.
an impression. I can actually do 28, maybe 38 impressions. I can do a brilliant impression for you right now that you will remember for the rest of your life, and you're going to say, you know what? This guy said he's going to do a brilliant impression. I'm convinced he's an absolute hack. He's going to embarrass himself, or he's a genius. Which one do you think?
I think the jury is out until you do the impression. I would say it's 50-50.
So if I can do a brilliant impression from what you've heard thus far, and I contact one of the 22-year-old female that's in charge of your production, would you actually potentially pay me to be on, like, to do a show on your network?
We do revenue sharing. So if you are able to get a certain amount of downloads and so forth, you get a certain amount of money.
No, I can go anywhere and do that. I can go anywhere and do that. Listen, I can go anywhere and do that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's the business model.
I'm not commissioned. I'm not commissioned. But hey, do you want to hear the impression?
I still want to hear it. Yeah.
This is Ronald Reagan, and I'm listening to the Spring Chuckin' Show podcast.
Excellent. Thanks a lot. Good. If you got any questions, email those too.
Email
Thank
us.
you.
Well, we'd love to hear from you. So again, this is Jim was just saying earlier. We were talking about why we add YouTube component. People remember a certain person in Greece used to listen all the time online. We've got people listening all over the world. They love listening to Kubik and Gino, and people listen all over the world.
Well, you know, that guy did bring up a good question. He's like, do you make any money off of this?
I tried.
Well, I mean, Chuck's been telling me this, Mike Whalen, Dave Kuziak, Bill Baker. And we went off and built a sports network and basically forgot about radio for 5 or 6 years. You know what happened when we came back and started looking at it?
Mm-hmm.
radio listenership was up 3% last year. People
Yeah.
are coming back to traditional
And what did I
brands.
say? It's just don't neglect your foundation. This is the brick and mortar. This is
I
the
agree.
foundation, and we have to focus on it a little bit.
Can we talk about data centers?
I feel like we need to take a break and reset now, just so we can do a clean segment.
That's
Do you
up to
how
the
about we take?
producer.
Do we have any calls?
No.
No. Okay. Why don't we? She hates it when I take early breaks. It's like if you.
Yeah, it's
like
only been like 10 minutes.
Right. Okay. We can do data centers.
Well,
I
let's
just wanted to
introduce it. So
Okay.
So Brent Brazier sent me Josh Huddleston's post, right? And we've all seen. Many of us have seen this who care about this, right? He'll get. I had a reporter stop by and talk to me about the $47 million the city received. She was under impression that 47 was the only payment. No, $47 million on February 1st they got. I saw them right after that, and I'm like, why are you so happy? And then $45 million they're going to get in a couple weeks. And they're getting another $10 million at the end of July. And then they're getting another $45 million at the end of 2026. So that's over $100 million, over $150 million. Right? There you go. So he's going to have $150 million by the end of the year. The city of Hobart from their data center. I saw that McDermott and the data center people had offered to give up. Just here it is, $25 million, right? Along with maybe, I can't remember, $10 million a year or something like that, right? Takes away some of MX's sting about the debt load of the city of Hammond, right?
Okay.
So what you have developing are have and have-nots communities in Northwest Indiana.
Right, but that's also a story as old as time.
Okay, but
right? I mean, okay.
So what it does is you just brought that up in the earlier segment. You said overlapping layers of government, right? So each town has its own economic development person or their own building inspector. Each town has their own city council or town council. Each town has a mayor or some town manager. And it really does provide a lot more jobs than we would normally have if we were run more efficiently. But it has preserved the hometown nature of Hobart, hometown nature of Cedar Lake, hometown nature of Whiting, hometown nature of Valparaiso, right? Everything has its own identity, and you have all of these overlapping municipal taxing jurisdictions.
Who did Matt Reardon coin that term? I forget who that was.
Well, he used it, and I told him that he couldn't use it on the air because then you could just hear people clicking on the radio.
It's like we started talking about TIFs and things like that.
But,
bonds.
But really what happened was, if you start to think about it, the different, Microsoft comes in, Google comes in, big developers come in. They're really pitting one government against another government, right?
You know what the Bears are doing right now, too?
That is exactly what I'm saying.
We talked about years ago. I remember the story. I always liked this. Boeing was courting states all over the country to move their facility to, and everybody knew it was a ruse because if they did this, they'd have to ship plane parts all across the country. So Boeing came to Indiana. We spent like six figures on a presentation for them. Eventually, Washington gave them their $2 billion, and they built the new factory next to the old one, as we expected, right? But I mean, again, that's a story as old as time that you use other communities to try to get more money out of, your home base.
So I was looking at the map yesterday. Okay, let's just use this principle that I'm about to talk about, okay? I was looking at the map. If they put the stadium on the state line at Wolf Lake, right?
Right.
How much of Illinois is used or could be used, right? So in other words, if you were to kind of move, turn it clockwise a little bit from where it is, and you were to maybe put a corner of the parking lot or part of the stadium onto Illinois
technically
property.
In Chicago, yeah.
Yeah, technically Chicago, right?
Right.
Then you could both approach the Bears together and say, well, here's your deal. Here's what we're offering you.
So have you heard the latest about this IDEM situation? So basically, Chicago media reached out to IDEM. Same idea. When you're doing a project of this nature, you're going to start doing studies, environmental impact studies, things like that. And IDEM says, well, there haven't been any permits or anything like that done. But then also there is a 50-year moratorium on building on the Lost Marsh site. So essentially, we can't, according to IDEM, that site cannot be developed for 50 years, which puts you in like 2050 or something like that. So the question becomes, is that going to be a deal breaker? But also, when you've got, this is technically a state facility, can the governor just override that and go, yeah, no, we know that there's a rule, but I'm breaking it because I'm the governor, I can do that. So that's an interesting wrinkle in the situation.
Well, I mean, it's really sickening. For 20 years or 18 years and some months, I stood in the pits of the Board of Trade, and I daily took abuse for being from Indiana. Okay?
Right.
I mean,
no,
you
sure.
work in
I do
Chicago.
I hear too.
All right, pay attention.
No, I have no.
What are you reading?
This is something that we do have to get to. Okay.
All right, we'll get to
There's
it.
a lot going on behind the scenes right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I know what that. What would you call it when you look down on people?
Yeah.
Arrogance of the North Shore and the western suburbs, and quite frankly, anything. Not so much out of Beverly and Bridgeport. They kind of have a little bit. They all have connections to Northwest Indiana, but it was like, I remember one time I'm sitting there I got a big trade on, and there's hundreds of people watching, and it gets quiet, and one of the guys yells out, "Hey, Chad, I saw somebody driving in with a horse trailer behind him today, behind a pickup. Was that you?" I mean, those are the kind of arrogance that comes from Illinois to Indiana, right? And you should listen to some of these radio hosts and some of these columnists. They should be ashamed to basically have that kind of prejudice against an area, which is our area. But what would happen if Indiana, Governor Braun, and Pritzker had lunch and said, you know what? Why don't we do a dual state site?
Right.
And then we wouldn't be competing and just running up the bid and higher and higher. We could just say, well, here's the deal. If you want to do that, that's good. If not, stay where you're at, or, that's the offer.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, I don't really care. I mean, what's better, Soldier Field or Arlington Heights? Certainly Soldier Field is better for us. But what's best is Wolf Lake, right? But what if, you know what? We're both working together now, and here's the deal. It would not be giving away $2 billion, billions of dollars.
When is the last time that you saw a red and blue state or right and left coming together, even just having that discussion, let alone coming to a deal? And it's unfortunate because as soon as you say that, I say these two sides will not work together.
Okay, I get that.
And also,
but
again,
that works in the Bears' favor because they can go, all right, what's your bid, Indiana? Okay. All right, what's your bid, City of Chicago? Oh, what's your bid, Illinois? And then it just keeps going up and up. But if they came together, they could go,
right.
You know what? Forget all that other stuff. Everything's off the table. Here's the deal now.
Right.
Because now you can't go anywhere else.
And that makes so much sense that there's no way that would ever happen.
Okay, similarly, look at this, right? Josh Huddleston and Hobart are going to get, I think, $150 million by the end of the year.
Okay.
Dyer's over there selling off the beer truck, trying to, make, an extra $50,000, right? So you have this massive data center going into Hobart right off of I-65, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what happens to the trucks that go there? What happens to the heat, the noise, the water use, all that stuff? Is that just Hobart? No.
That affects everybody.
It
right?
affects
the whole watershed.
The watershed. Right. They leave the Hobart factory and they get on I-65, and then maybe they drive over and they go through Gary, they go through Hammond, they go through Munster. All of our infrastructure is contributing to that.
Right.
To that data
That's why we
center.
need regional planning.
So why is it that it only goes to Hobart? Well, one of the things is Hobart's like, yeah, come over here, build here. Otherwise, we got to give you, a good deal, or you're going to go over there to South County. And South County, where there's two of them on the board right now, they're trying to push them through. In my mind, They're trying to push them through now, before we wise up and say, hey, we got an authority. Here's what you do. You go to this thing. Here's the deal you can get now.
So remember, I did try to take a break. So now, okay. But here's the interesting part that you bring up. Remember when the casinos came to town, the state essentially took control of them, right? The local, we had very little say in the matter. They said, here's your cut. It's curious that the state didn't do the same thing for data centers. This idea that we're going to basically control it, the money's going to come to us. But right now we have, like you said, you have the community has control. Hobart has control. They get the money, and the state's really not intervening at all other than just some guidance. But here's what we need to do. So you weren't here, or you were walking in. There was an accusation leveled against Councilman Mark in Hobart about the money that was given to the Hobart Moose Lodge. And so I told him, I told the caller, I told Councilman Mark, I said, well, we're going to give the councilman a chance to respond to this because you made an accusation. The councilman can't call in, but I wanted to just sort of read his response. It's a little long, but I'm going to read.
Why don't we do it after the break? Because she's going nuts. That'll tease it.
No, but this is her fault, though. I tried to take a break. I tried to. So I want to do this and clean this up, and then we'll start a new clean segment. So let me do this, and then we'll take a break. So I'm not going to read the whole thing, but Councilman Mark, I'd say, why don't you post this just publicly so that we can share it? But essentially, there was an accusation that the money that came in from the data center, that $100,000 of it went to the Hobart Moose Lodge. The caller was, suggesting impropriety.
All right, I'm gonna use my boss level. We'll be right back after this.
Okay. Sorry, Mark.
Hey, Region, I'm T, and I grew up in East Chicago, went to college in Gary, worked out of Munster, and raised my family in Crown Point. I'm Region to the core. I created Region Hot Sauce, the flavor of the region. Added to chicken, fish, pizza, eggs, and more for the perfect blend of heat and flavor. Visit RegionHotSauce.com for a complete list of locations or to order direct. Region Hot Sauce, the flavor of the region.
Before Notre Dame Federal Credit Union, we were being charged various maintenance fees and various check writing fees for all of our accounts. And with Notre Dame, we don't have that. We have that true community partnership. We get interest based on all of our parish and school accounts, and the interest rate is really second to none.
We've had some cars run into the barrier wall, not paying attention. They were on their phone.
Texting, scrolling. Yeah, it's bad. Most often they be on their phones or they're just not paying attention. They can cause a crash.
We could stand on the side of the road and watch every other vehicle looking down into their lap as they're passing us. You know what they're looking at. They're looking at their phone.
Phones. On their phones, not paying attention. Phones.
I'm not a mathematician, but I say probably about 80% of the people who pass me are on their telephones.
No call, text, or video is worth putting yourself or a road worker in danger. When driving through construction, LIUNA members ask you for your sake and ours.
Slow down, stay off your phone, please. Be aware where we're at, where the cone zones are at.
Stay off your phones and buckle up and drive safe.
We're not asking for much.
This is Brian Short, Business Manager for the Indiana Laborers District Council. Everyone deserves a safe place to work. Do your part in the cone zone. Slow down, save a life. We're all in this together.
A message from Laborers International Union of North America and affiliated locals.
For over 140 years, the Central Midwest Carpenters have built our communities in Northwest Indiana. Are you ready to join the effort? We have long-term work, competitive pay, and the best benefits in the industry. We pride ourselves on innovative training and commitment to worksite safety. Earn as you learn as an apprentice. A solid career built on a solid legacy. For more info, go to carpenters.com.
It is 7:28 in the region. Beautiful Monday morning here. Chuck Pullen, Jim Didlo here on Spring Chuckin'. Let's take a look at traffic and weather. Traffic has been absolutely fantastic this morning. Everything looking good. 80, 94, 65. Skyway toll road on the Illinois side. Bishop Ford and the Dan Ryan looking good. Little slowdown at the south end of the Dan Ryan at the merger, as Tony Panic would say. A little slowdown if you're going into the circle. Other than that, 294, 80, everything looking good in Illinois. Just a heads up, if you are a Lakeshore Drive user, the former President Obama motorcade making its way around Hyde Park. So if you're going that way, just be aware. You may have some closures along with that. How was the weather?
Good morning, everyone. Today we're at 59 degrees with highs of 74 and lows of 58. It's going to be pleasant with partial sunshine. Should be the nicest day of the week. Then tomorrow and Tuesday we'll be having highs of 68 and lows of 54. Should be cloudy and breezy with a couple of thunderstorms, or a couple of showers and a thunderstorm. Then Wednesday we'll be having highs of 68 and lows of 61 with clouds, showers, and a heavier thunderstorm in the afternoon and breezy.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we're going to go back to this. There was an accusation just put out by a caller about Councilman Mark and the Hobart Moose Lodge, so I just wanted to clear that up. And then, obviously, Councilman Mark, you're always invited sometime, and you can kind of, I'd love to hear your perspective on everything going on, because, again, it affects you and your community, so I'd love to hear from you. We'll schedule time on that.
Get to it.
Go ahead. Thank you. The first large donation the city gave out was the Hobart Food Pantry for $100,000. The Hobart Moose Lodge, as you know, helps out just about every charitable organization in the city and some outside the city. We have had roof leaks and other structural issues that are in dire need of repair to be able to keep providing these fundraisers and facilities for these charities. The money that was earmarked for the Moose was earmarked with specific guidelines that had to go to facility repairs. More importantly, we have given almost $1 million to residents to help out with repairs in their houses. There's a little bit more to that, but obviously, you know, I'd love to hear from him on that someday. So let's get back to...
So what's the accusation? I missed
that.
it.
That essentially, I again, basically a pay-to-play kind of thing. That the city got money, and now the councilmen are getting money for sort of their, you know, individual kind of...
So Mark has been a huge supporter and critic of me.
Absolutely.
And he'll let me know when I'm doing stupid stuff, which is regularly sometimes. And the Moose Lodge is kind of like the central, I mean, it's kind of a weird thing. Munster doesn't have a Moose Lodge.
Right.
The VFW in Highland's kind of smaller, but the Moose Lodge is a big deal there in Hobart. And I've written many checks to the Moose Lodge for like food drives, and they do a bingo, I think, and that kind of thing. And then the money gets distributed mostly in Hobart, I'm guessing.
And that was his point.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know what that you know, that's a unique situation where you want to support somebody who is actually, that money will multiply into the community, and that would, so I mean, are they saying something that Huddleston Huddleston and Mark got together and they okayed data centers so that
so he would get a check.
Moose Lodge could get $100,000.
Right. Well, no, I mean, again, I
sense.
think people that don't go there maybe think of it as just sort of this place where guys hang out and drink, and they don't understand, like you said, what that particular
There's way
Moose
too
Lodge...
many people every time I go.
Right. What's I'm saying, but they also are
I've
doing
gone
good for the
there and
community.
gone to the door. Hey Jed. I'm like, you know what? I got to get to 3 basketball games tonight.
Right.
I'm not going to get in the Moose Lodge and out of the Moose Lodge by the time I need to go. But it brings up the general point of, and if you guys want to, you know, you're like, what kind of content are you producing, Jed? I write a regular Substack now. Just go to Jim Deedlow on Substack and you could read it. But I wrote one on Friday about we don't really know how to react when people want us.
Right.
We've always been looked down upon by, all you got to do is go to Chicago radio right now, and they'll tell you how bad
They're saying it's a toxic dump site and all that kind of stuff.
You know, how bad of people we are.
Yeah.
And I heard that for 20 years in the pits of the Board of Trade.
Yeah, it's like one of those, what's that old joke? The only person that could beat up my little brother is me, right? The only person that can make fun of the region is us. But so let's do this. Let's take our call, and then what I want to do is I want to take a break from calls for a little bit so Jed and I can get into this segment. So let's take this call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hi, Chuck. Hey, I don't know if you want me to wait to call in until you discuss it, because I've got some things to discuss.
Why don't we do that? Because why don't we set this up a little bit, and then you and I, because we're going to get into the weeds on this. Why don't we do that? And then you call back in a little bit, and then give us like 10 minutes to get through this.
I can stay on even.
Whatever you want to do. Yeah, okay. I don't want you to get mad at me later. Just put them back on hold.
I'm done after this segment. So
okay,
let's go right at
okay, so we'll be right back at you, Brad.
So Huddleston's getting $150 million. McDermott's getting money. There are, you know, in LaPorte County, there's little parts of that county that are getting $1 billion basically. And then you have the state kind of strangling local municipalities so that they have to pass referendums to be able to continue to pay their police and fire at certain levels, or better yet, for the school referendums. If you want a good school in your community, basically got to got to pass a referendum.
But what I wanted to do was I wanted to step back because listening to, and again, no offense to either one of them, I love you both, Brent and Bob, listening to those guys on Friday made me realize that not a lot of people understand what a data center is, what its purpose is, what its function is. Like Brent had mentioned, I think he had said something like data centers are only like 5 years old. I said, okay, that makes me realize that a lot of people don't understand the vital function of data centers and their importance to essentially the internet and this entire country at this point. But let's step back a little bit. I'm going to tell a little story. So think about back in the old days, like back in the old West times, every town had a little, like a dry goods store. You had a little tiny store, right? You had a little tiny, general store, and that was it. That was it. As time progressed, guys like Sears, and you started having department stores, grocery stores got bigger, places, again, Strax would have been a huge, huge store back then. So we started having places like Strax. You had supermarkets. And then we started getting Walmarts, and then we started getting the mall, and things got bigger and bigger, right? And you had more choices. Like if you were in the Old West, it was like you go to the dry goods store. There's only a handful of things, and that was it. And then eventually you can order stuff from Sears. It got bigger and bigger, right? It grew. And then, so you had the mall, and then now we have Amazon. So Amazon has these massive facilities, but it's basically centralizing purchasing. It's centralizing commerce, right? And so Main Street went away because of the mall. The mall went away, because of Walmart. Walmart's going away, the big box stores are going away because of Amazon, because we're centralizing commerce, okay? Data centers are the same way. And again, I know you're using computers for a long time because of trading and stuff like that. So think about back in the old days. So I mean, even going back to the start of the internet, data centers have been around as long as the internet. We just didn't call them. We didn't need a massive data center. The original internet, the original computers, was like that little dry goods store in the old West town. And now we've gotten bigger, and the commerce has gotten bigger. So now we have a big data center, just like we have a big Amazon warehouse. Okay. So what you have to understand is, like, when we first started in the days of computers, it was the computer lived at your house, or even before that, there was computers the size of a warehouse that had less storage capacity than your cell phone, right? I mean, as things got smaller and more efficient. So what we're doing now in commerce and business is just like Jim and I were talking over the break about going cloud-based. So like my business, for instance, we're taking all of that processing, all the computers, all the stuff that we need to run our business. Every department is going cloud-based, right? So we are centralizing all of that processing power to a data center somewhere. So we literally just I turned in my computer last week. Everything I do is cloud-based. So every business, regardless of what you do, whether you're running, like in my case, it's a television network, or you're running a radio station here, everything is going cloud-based. It's centralizing, right? So it's very efficient for us, because you remember you and I talking about buying servers and stuff years ago. We had to spend all this money, invest in servers. By the time you got it going, it's outdated. You're upgrading servers, upgrading capacity. Now, instead of you and I having to build servers in the back room at 2 a.m, now you literally just hit a button. Now I have more capacity. So if you're a business growing, you literally, and I mean, no joke, a push of a button, we can grow our business. So that makes things super efficient. I don't have to wait for parts. I don't have to wait to build a computer. I don't have to upgrade my internet. I can just hit a button and grow my business thanks to data centers.
So how does that affect us locally? Now, I'll follow up with the story there. So recently, we have had trouble with YouTube skipping, right? And part of that is that we went entirely cloud-based. Everything. We were one of the first local media to do that, okay? But what happened was the cloud place that we use, we send everything to there, and then it would send it to YouTube, to Apple, all that stuff. We do a game. They send it to the cloud reinterprets it, and it goes to Apple, wherever it would go, iOS, Android, Roku, all that stuff. And it's growing exponentially. But the cloud server that we send it to prioritizes Apple, prioritizes iOS, prioritizes Android, and I think 5 major prioritizations. Secondary after that is sending that game to social media. Or if you're doing it here, we send it to the cloud. If they want to send it to social media, it's on tier 2. And why is it on tier 2? Because tier 1, they can't buy any more space at a reasonable amount. So that's what was happening, and you came in and said, "Oh, buy some fiber for $25."
That's not what I said. Not what I said. Not what I said.
But anyways, I came in on a Sunday and sat here for 6 hours trying to figure out what the problem.
Instead of calling me, I would have fixed it in 10 minutes.
No, you told me to buy fiber.
I said not yes.
Yeah, but anyways,
we'll argue off the air.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm like, I'm not buying fiber. That's not. It's only. Anyways, if any of you computer people knows, we get 35 megabits upload,
and that's not enough.
That's all we need.
And that's not. We need more.
All right, but anyways,
we need at least 50.
So,
but that's not what I said. I said I needed fiber from there to there, not from there out to the world. I said we need fiber.
Miscommunication.
Whatever. Right.
So I find out from the company that they have to throttle down social media feeds. Typically, they're good, but when they're full up on their normal broadcasting of sports, then they throttle down, and that was what was happening to our YouTube. So it took us a long time, and we figured out how to go the other way. But it affected us that there was a shortage of data centers. Now people, I can't believe this is some sort of a bubble, and maybe it is, but we have no way of projecting that. Maybe this is just the beginning of needing computing power.
But again, so there's this idea that, imagine if data centers and those services didn't exist, and you and I had to sit here and build a server for iOS, build a server for Roku, if you and I tried to do that, which we literally did, how much time do we spend just to do what Facebook did overnight, right? So, think about if we had to do that times 10. We wouldn't be able to do the things we do if we didn't have services connected to data centers that were able to scale up. Again, like even this idea of, I remember we'd do a women's football game and 500 people tried to watch the game, and it crippled our entire network because we just didn't have the capacity. Now, with data centers, we could do you could have some sort of press conference, or we could stream something for the Bears, and 100,000, 1 million people are watching. It doesn't affect us because we're just originating the stream.
Now, secondarily there, when we said, Purdue kind of has, taken that center towards cybersecurity instead of entrepreneurialism, I go, we got to move out. Well, let's just go home. And I said one thing. I said, listen, I don't care that we still go to the cloud and that we're basically one of the most technologically advanced local media in America, partly because of you. You every time you're like, we need to do this, we need that. Ben Cowart. Now we got Starkey telling. Now Lynette's on the edge of technology. And I get it. You guys are always pushing that. But I said we needed to do one thing. At any time, I need to be able to come down here, flip the switch, and go on the radio.
Technically, you can do that, right? It's
without
one button.
going to the cloud.
No, you can. It's one button. There's one button on that mixer, and you can go live.
I can go. Anybody could come here. Kubik could walk down here, turn it on, and just start talking.
Right.
Right?
And,
one day we'll teach Goddard how to do it. If there's a massive thing like there was going on yesterday, if that flood had gotten worse, I would have drove down here, flipped it on,
we can
and
do it in
started talking.
Or we can do it in the cloud, so you could be live on Kennedy Avenue and not have to come in here to do that, which is silly, because then you can be on location and go live anywhere in the world if something's breaking.
I get that, but so there is the need for these data centers. So why do they want to be here so bad?
I would assume why do the Bears want to be here so bad? I assume tax incentives, right?
Tax incentives.
Because land is cheaper.
Tax incentives, water.
Right.
NIPSCO has set up basically a bifurcated way to supply them. You have workers. You have a construction workforce that could build it. And then you're right on the main line for the internet in America. Goes right under by the South Shore.
Right.
There's like 7 factors where these people that are massive internet companies are like, dude, we need to be there.
Right.
And not only that, we need to get in now before they figure out how desirable they are. And that's where we are right now. How desirable are we?
So I was talking to an electrician a few days ago, and we were talking about, he works on data centers, he works at the hospital, he's worked on all these projects. IBW guy, great guy. And I'd love to try to get him on sometime. But I was asking him, he mentioned working on data centers. I go, do you ever tell people, like, in your life that you do this? They ever, like, get mad at you, or they ever have, negative connotations of data centers? He said, it's crazy because to me, it's just like building a hospital. It's like there's no difference. A hospital has bodies. The data center has computers. He said, somehow we've made data centers a boogeyman when it essentially functions just like the hospital does.
Would you want to live next door to a data center?
I don't think it would be an issue. I think that we should have a buffer. Just like, imagine the people in Munster that live if you lived next door to the emergency room entrance of the hospital, what would you have? Yesterday I was in Munster and the helicopter literally, lands right there and you hear them every time. So, I mean, again.
Well, I live right by the hospital.
You heard, I mean,
and my grandson's first basic noise that he's been able, every time an ambulance goes by, which is about once every half hour, you can hear ambulance.
Right. But
sometimes we have to go look at it at the end of the street so that he can, ambulance. But it is all the time.
Right. And so that's the same idea. Or you live next to whatever, live next to the Bear Stadium. So, I mean, they're and unfortunate because you were there first. Obviously, we agree. But it's the same thing with the train. They're putting it, you put the train in the middle of a neighborhood. Now you've got train noise. So if it were me, I would say there needs to be there needs to be an exponential buffer based on the size, because one of the things that we're seeing is because we can't supply the capacity, they have to bring extra power generation on site. They have to basically, to keep up with demand, they're bringing generators, they're bringing stuff on site that adds noise, adds environmental noise. So I agree in that regard. But also there's mitigation. Just like along the highway here, we've got noise mitigation and things like that. So if you build a substation in the middle of the neighborhood, they have very thick walls, noise mitigation, all those things. So the main idea, I would say, is if somebody was bringing a data center to my area, I would say, are we sure that we have mitigation in place, building hedgerows, building walls, building layers of that, and I would have no real issue with it.
So you are getting to the main point, which is, all right, you're sitting there as a planner for one of these massive internet companies. And you're like, we need to be right there because of their location,
right,
because of their tax structure, and all the things that I said. I got to be there. Northwest Indiana. That's where it is, middle of the country, okay? But we got to do it now.
Right.
We got to do it now because they're going to figure out what we already figured out, that's where we need to be. That's one of the most desirable areas of the country to develop. And we got to get those in and get them pushed through now. Why do you think all these places are hiring these local attorneys and local developers? And how can you get it in? How much? Where's the check? Well, don't worry about how many zeros are on it. Get this done. Same thing about building it. They start building it. Don't worry about overtime. Just keep going, right? And they got to get them in because the demand is there. But the secondary thing is you don't want the price to go up. And the price would go up if people worked together. Said, all right, well, that air you're breathing, that's over Hobart, that goes into Maryville, that goes into Portage. Oh, all the people that leave there, they go into Maryville, they go into Portage, right? Everything that is used there, all that water, Maryville, Portage, right? So Hobart's going to get $1 billion, Maryville, Portage are going to get zero. So when would we figure out, well, man, if we just had a central entry point for data centers to come in here and look at this and approve it and give them the appropriate deal, that could really lift this area instead of giving $100,000 to Moose Lodge.
So, but again, let's flip that and look at the other side of it. So just like you are talking about doing cloud-based solutions for the radio station, you just said that one of the providers that you use has a bandwidth issue. You've got all of these companies competing for new customers. As organizations like yours, as the one I work for, goes from physical computers, physical servers to the cloud, you're adding this exponential capacity, this exponential need for processing power, network traffic, things like that. I need to keep up with the demand. Otherwise, let's say that service you use says we can't keep up with your demand. What are you going to do?
That's
you're
what they did.
But you're going to go if they do not.
I'm going to spend 6 hours on a Sunday trying to figure out a workaround.
But I'm saying,
which you taught me how to do.
But if that company can't deliver, what are you going to do? You're going to move to a different company. So all of these companies are rushing to add this capacity so that they don't lose customers. And as new people realize, hey, it's a whole lot easier to move my entire organization to the cloud instead of having computers everywhere and having IT guys.
You've established that.
So what I'm saying is that their needs are going up exponentially and they're trying to keep up with that so they don't lose their customers.
And they'll pay anything.
To not lose those customers.
For whatever reason, they got to be here. And part of it is tax structure.
Right.
Okay. And it's part of it is that we're giving them everything. And we don't have a process. If somebody was said, hey, you know what? We want to build a $20 billion data center, okay, and instead of going to these different areas that have little bitty governments that are really not equipped to make that kind of decision, if it was to come into a centralized location that had the research, that had the ability to deal with them and give incentives and that kind of stuff, then we would have what we've never had here, which is the ability to work together. Same thing with the Bears. You're against, we're giving billionaires billions, and but obviously it should be a good economic build out over time. But if we were to work with Illinois, can you imagine how much lower that would be?
Well, I'm just my point was, why are the Bears getting a deal? Why are the data centers putting money in and the Bears are taking money out? Like if I was building a factory,
that's how we set it up.
Right, but I'm saying
they can leverage Indiana versus Illinois, and that's what they're doing. But one day, Indiana and Illinois are going to wake up and go, hey, all right, Pritzker and Braun, just have coffee. Just talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't disagree. Well, okay, here, flip side of that. There are now 14 states considering banning basically moratoriums on data centers. There's 14 states that are talking about basically, like you said, we're going to put the brakes on this and we're going to study it more. So what do you think the data center is going to do? Even if there's a state saying we're even considering new laws on data centers, we're even considering putting the brakes on this thing that you guys are trying to do as quick as possible, they're not going to locate in any of those states, right?
No, it's not a state thing. What I'm saying is that you could set up the process. It's like, hey, we're open for data centers. Right. We just have a process. You come in, how much you want to spend. You meet with these folks. Here's the research on it. Here's some possible locations. We have a process. We could actually speed it up for them.
But have you seen this again? Have you seen government? It'd take 2 years for them to decide what that process is going to look like.
Have you seen government?
Right, that's what I'm asking.
Look at what happened on Sunday.
Okay.
All right.
Local guys, right? Local guys. It wasn't a legislative. I mean, look at how the state of Illinois fumbled the Bears deal. They were there meeting till 4 a.m. and couldn't come to a deal. I mean, that's the same thing. Is the reason the Bears are moving here is because we approved $1 billion in an hour, and Illinois has been talking about it for years now. They couldn't come to an agreement. So that's
part
the same
of that,
concern.
Honestly, I think part of that is ego. I mean, what Hoosier wouldn't want to stick it to the state of Illinois, right?
Well, we agree, but I mean, it's not worth $1 billion to me because I'm not necessarily a Bears fan. So maybe to Bears fans,
all right, hey, you know what? We're going to put it in Hammond. But I'll tell you what, Illinois, as soon as they leave, they go back over to your state. The teams stay in downtown
Skyway.
Chicago.
Give me $12.
And 80% of the fans come from Illinois. Let's work together on this.
Right.
No. There's none of that. It is all competition, and that is pitting one party against each other, against another, when they both have the same interests.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. Same thing with data centers. We cannot work together, partly because we're in an America where we are now trained to be at each other's throats.
And they're taking advantage of that. So what let's do is let's take a break, and we'll take your phone calls with more after this.
Tech Credit Union supports the essential role of union labor in building strong communities. That's why we offer hassle-free banking, financial empowerment, and a commitment to your success. Save for the future, handle life's challenges, and trust a partner that stands by hardworking union members. Tech Credit Union, the better option for you and your money. Visit techcu.org or call 800-276-8324. Tech Credit Union, supporting union families every step of the way.
Are you searching for a college where you belong? Calumet College of St. Joseph wants to know you and give you the support you need to succeed. Are you worried about how you'll pay for your degree? 95% of our students receive financial aid, including scholarships and grants. Need some extra help with your classes? You'll benefit from our small class sizes, free tutoring, internship planning, faculty mentors, and so much more. Come experience our accepting, supportive college family for yourself. Schedule your campus visit and apply at ccsj.edu.
Enjoy the taste of summer at the Farmers Market at Fox Point. Every Tuesday from 9 to 1, shop locally grown fresh produce, delicious baked goods, artisanal treats, and local culinary creations. Just minutes from I-8094, the Farmers Market at Fox Point in Lansing, Illinois is a perfect spot to hear acoustic musicians, stretch with morning yoga, and enjoy community fun throughout the season. To see all vendors and entertainment, visit foxpoint.org. That's point with an E, foxpoint.org.
We've had some cars run into the barrier wall, not paying attention. They were on their phone.
Texting, scrolling. Yeah, it's bad. Most often they be on their phones or they're just not paying attention. They can cause a crash.
We could stand on the side of the road and watch every other vehicle looking down into their lap as they're passing us. You know what they're looking at. They're looking at their phone.
Phones. On their phones, not paying attention. Phones.
I'm not a mathematician, but I say probably about 80% of the people who pass me are on their telephones.
No call, text, or video is worth putting yourself or a road worker in danger. When driving through construction, LIUNA members ask you for your sake and ours.
Slow down, stay off your phone, please. Be aware where we're at, where the cone zones are at.
Stay off your phones and buckle up and drive safe.
We're not asking for much.
This is Brian Short, Business Manager for the Indiana Laborers District Council. Everyone deserves a safe place to work. Do your part in the cone zone. Slow down, save a life. We're all in this together.
A message from Laborers International Union of North America and affiliated locals.
There is no traffic. You do traffic or I'll do traffic. It has to be done every break.
Yeah, we're going to do it in 5
right out of the break
minutes.
so she could cut this
If
up.
there is, but we're doing a 5-minute segment and we're going to reset. So let's take a couple calls. We'll reset at the top of the hour.
Why?
Because there's nothing to report at the moment. There's nothing or urgent. So let's take calls. We had Brad waiting. We had a few other people messaging me saying, take calls. I want to talk to Jim. So let's take some calls. Good morning, caller on the air.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
We're going to get our son. Hey, how are you? A little tired after the weekend, as you know, so hopefully I get this right. But we're going to see our central authority. And those big government fans that are always wanting them to get involved because they ruin everything, as you know, they're coming. So I don't know really where to start. But for one, I just want to say I am not anti-data center because, as we discussed, these buildings are everywhere. Every local AT&T central office has been a data center for over 40 years.
Right.
They're right in your backyard. There's one
And
right
by
on
the way, Brad,
Indianapolis,
let's not forget to remind people, and the NSA has been in that same building since the beginning as well. So, you know.
You bet.
Yeah. There's a
10
documentary
South Canal,
about it.
4th floor, 10 South Canal.
Yep.
You bet.
The
10
big
South Canal,
buildings
4th
with no
floor. There's a
windows.
couple
That's
other
generally
ones,
where
too.
they are. Yeah. Go ahead.
Right, but we know nothing. Anyway, so my tech background and research skills, as you know, is giving me the ability for the last 7 years to usually sound the alarm to regionites, right? Now, my theory that these are data centers are going to not only mine cryptocurrency, but they are going to be mass surveillance centers. I'm not going to get into the flock camera thing here right away because I got something that's going to tie this all together. Flock cameras, a lot of that database is available to anyone like myself that wants to go get it. They're out there. They're getting hacked. There's another one out there that's actually going to track every cell phone, every tablet you have, every laptop, your cars, everything, and that's going to bring it all together. You're going to, and there's no way that database isn't going to get breached. But what we really are up against, folks, is the end game. It's already here. The end game is here when it comes to data centers and AI. Because if either are you aware of this bill called the Great Artificial Intelligence Act? Oh, yes, it's going to give control over to our ever so competent Congress. And think about what they did on AI. Think about what they did with cryptocurrency. For the last 14 years, they threw it in your face that it was for child pornographers, for criminals, for drug
It's for the children. It's for
so
the children.
what's the
Brad.
alternative? Who's gonna regulate it?
Hold on, I'm getting to that.
We'll get to it.
They're going to let Congress regulate.
All right, you're
They're gonna let
critical of
Congress
that. What's the
regulate.
alternative? I tell people that work here, you got a problem, come here. Don't ever walk through the
Absolutely
door
open
without a
source. There is
solution.
the alternative, I have the alternative. I have a solution. You're great at interrupting, morning guy. You're so good at it. But don't steer me away from this one because I'm going to school you. You don't even know the demand for these things, but I heard you say demand like 5 times. Okay? The demand is going to be the only solution we have is to keep government out of it. It has to be left to open source developers to make their own decision. Do you want me to come in and say, you can't run an AI that is specifically made for radio and television? It will boost your sales by 50% in 1 month. It'll boost your revenue by 100% in a year. But I don't like the way it talks about how you might be able to skirt FCC regulations and get around that. You can't use that AI anymore. Are you up for that? Are you comfortable with that?
No, we're
with
based
me about
on
free
AI,
speech.
but who?
AI
all right, so
is free.
you're not telling me who
AI
would
is free
keep an
speech.
eye on it. AI can be creepy. We don't know where it's going. Technology in and
Who
of
cares?
itself.
Everything
all right,
can
so,
be creepy.
All right, so wait a second. So
'Cause where
no
is it limited?
regulation.
My question to you is, where does the limit go?
No regulation.
How much regulation?
No.
How much regulation?
Well, I think, can I just
who
real
would
quick?
who would
You want
regulate
no
it?
regulation?
So we get together as people
Well,
and
they're trying to
we
make
elect
Congress
we
be
elect
able to
our
regulate it.
leaders. I hate Congress. Okay, I get it. That's a general 10% approval of Congress. I get that in America. But when we're presented with a massive decision to make, like what do we do with technology, you want no oversight by us, the people. You want Elon Musk to
Can I
oversee
real
it.
quick,
Wait
Brad?
a second.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
that's a good question.
No.
So here,
but
real quick though. Here's the question though. If you, Brad, real quick. If you,
Elon Musk.
if you let Congress decide, you are letting a bunch of 80-year-olds that don't know how to check their email decide the future of AI and potentially the future of technology in this country. So if you're asking me who I trust more, yes, I trust Elon Musk more than 80-year-olds that don't even know how to use their smartphone or check their email.
All right, wait
if you're
a
asking
second.
me,
So
just
hold
saying.
on a second.
Just saying.
Is that
Go
you
ahead.
too, Brad? Is it like, all right, if I have the choice of having elected representatives look at what we're doing or Elon Musk, I choose Elon Musk.
Oh, I don't choose Elon Musk because I got my things. I
Okay,
think it
but
should
who
be
do you
up to a
choose?
general consensus.
Someone's got to look
And
at it.
You can make a general consensus program. You can put it on a blockchain, and everybody who wants to say so in it can contribute online to it.
So
It's
no
just like any
regulation.
kind of prediction market.
So
No,
what about?
heck
All
no.
right,
You wanna know why?
let me give you an
Because
example.
Government doesn't want me. Go ahead. Sure.
All right, so let me give you an
try me.
example. And I've heard your arguments before. It's not like this is new, okay? But here's the deal.
Yeah, I know. It's
The
good radio.
the car comes out, and the car is now Henry Ford has 1 million cars on the road, and we're like, well, who's gonna how are we gonna keep some order to this? And we could either put stoplights in, and we could have traffic laws, and we could keep the traffic moving with a number of orderly guidelines, or we could say drive wherever you want, however you want. Which one are you choosing?
I am still going to choose drive where you want, wherever you want. And the reason why is because I find your analogy from a car and being able to gain intelligence and knowledge to being able to scrape the web properly without any kind of bias, politically, medically, anything, that is the only thing that will save humanity, is the freedom of information. And if you stall it, or you come in and claim that I don't get to learn this kind of information because it's either anti-government or exposes the system or it explains how everything is literally corrupt, you want to take that away from me, and that is what government
Hold on.
jobs
Hey,
do.
no, you
Let
guys,
me answer
hang
this
on.
one. Hold
hang
on.
on.
Here's what you've done.
Listen,
And
stop.
No, stop.
Look,
No, I'm
what
not
time
gonna,
it is. It's,
no, we're not stopping.
Those 80-year-olds.
Brad's on there. Brad,
There's-
here's the deal, and I hear this argument
But it's
a lot
WKOB
on
you're
these.
listening to, and it's 8:01 a.m.
Yeah, if I hear these a lot in arguments here on the radio, we're talking about the construction of data centers and what they do to an area. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about free speech and the flow of information. That's a different. This is apples and oranges.
But that has to
You
do with
don't
data
like
centers.
government, you don't like Congress, and you don't want any infringements on free speech. That's a different discussion. I am speaking totally
No, it's not.
about
It has directly to do with a data center.
All I need to
It
say,
directly has to do with the data center because AI cards are running those data centers.
I need to
And
interrupt.
you're basically saying that if we have a demand for this information, we need those data centers. And you're telling me that it's okay for them to start regulating it? I mean, Anthropic just put out an AI model that the government said you can't use.
Okay, real quick.
You
hang
are
on.
once again shifting the discussion, and I have just kind of had it of this, and we are talking about a data center going. No, we're not talking about AI and what should you could say or not say, and you're going to be put behind a free speech wall that doesn't exist anymore. No, we're talking about people coming in and putting infrastructure into our area. Those are two different discussions.
And that's what the Great American Artificial Intelligence Act is about.
Real
Go
quick,
ahead.
Brad.
Go ahead. Please let me respond to this.
The 80-year-olds in Congress, even though it's 2026, require that I say it's 8:03 in the region. You're listening to AM 1230, 104.7 FM in beautiful Hammond, Indiana. Brad, continue.
The Great American Artificial Intelligence Act That prohibits any of you and I or anybody in the community from having any say-so of anything being built. And if you wouldn't have interrupted me 10 times, I would have tried to get to that immediately. But like I said, I'm a little tired, and I might not be as quick because I don't drink coffee to keep myself going.
I don't know how you get through the day, I'll be honest.
That you need to be aware of, that stops anyone from being able to say it's not allowed in my community. And you're going to leave it up to these same losers in Congress that have screwed up the banking system, have been in bed with all the bankers, and basically told you that the absolute currency that is going to replace the U.S. dollar was for child pornographers and everything else. And you're still giving them this credence and power. And you still want regulation after all the mistakes they've made. They can't solve it. And this illusion that government, that you have been basically brainwashed into believing that they will solve everything is not the answer.
All right, Brad,
everything.
slow down.
Everybody wants to be a buddy. Yeah, go ahead.
Brad, you should have your own podcast. Email Adriana.
Why don't you just let me say that?
I'm
the
the
boss.
guy to write the music for him.
I thought this was it used to be my show. Let me turn around. Whose show is this? Oh, it's mine. Okay.
Hey, I got to leave, by the way.
I know.
But Brad,
goat yoga.
Brad, like I've said,
go ahead.
all along that how you're thinking. I mean, I obviously just stimulate discussion, and I don't even really know what I said after the show, and you know that.
Radio.
But you
you
believe heavily, it's just like Chuck, in what you're talking about, and that is exactly what has happened here. There's a lot of people you've called and called hundreds, if not thousands of times. You developed a skill set to speak on the radio and to speak cogently about your passionate topics. So has Chuck. So has Gabbert. All these people have developed a skill set, and that's what I'm trying to tap into right now by building a podcast network is who can go viral. You could go viral. We got to go. We'll talk later. Talk to you.
Okay,
great discussion.
Okay, so, you're leaving, so...
No, well, take another one. I mean, I'll stay this segment.
Okay, we're late for a break, but okay, it's fine. We'll take a call. Good morning, caller on the air. What are you going to do, fire me? Go ahead, take a call. Good morning, caller.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, this discussion about the Hobart thing and the money, I don't know the particulars, but this is what you're going to see in Hobart when you get $147 million. When the boats came in, it was called a wish list.
Right.
This is what you're supposed to see. If you're going to make a deal, if they say a deal with the devil, what are you getting for it? That's what they should be discussing. What are we going to do with the $147 million? We're going to help our nonprofits. We're going to help everybody in town. Everybody should get a taste of it. So it's the same thing with the boats. There's a bunch of nonprofits that are still getting money from Second Century and the two groups that were in charge of taking that money that was in the original deal in perpetuity. So why is that a bad thing?
Well, and again, my only question was the accountability aspect of it. Whenever you create a new pot of money, before it just starts getting, checks get written, there should be some, like you said, there should be some direction and there should be some accountability, a regular financial report that says, hey, Hobart residents, here's where that money went. That's all I would ask, but it's not
I agree, and that's what they did with the boat. That was part of the reason why they East Chicago ended up getting that boat, is that was part of the deal for them to get the slip.
Right.
To actually operate it, they set up the two nonprofits. I think one's a nonprofit, one's a for-profit, but they were to be the arbiters of the money. I would say that that's exactly what the Hobart residents should be asking.
Right.
That should be the top thing that should be on the website for everyone to see. Here's the money we're getting. Here's what we're going to do with it. But the minute that because it goes to a nonprofit, does that mean that someone's stealing?
Right. Well, and again, I mean, that's the thing about transparency.
So do you know how much money, Chuck, goes to the nonprofits throughout all of this area?
Right. Well,
how do you think they're funded?
Right. Well, I mean, again, so the same thing with the boats. You mentioned the boats. Was it like 10% or 5%? I mean, is there accountability? That's always my question. Is there accountability? Is there a report? If you say, hey, where's the boat money going? Where's the data center? I should be able to Google and pull up a report in 30 seconds and know where it went. That's all I ask is for accountability.
Let me ask you a local question. Dave, hold on. I want to ask you a question, and then you can say what. Would you be for a data center behind this old Simmons plant where Mr. Kroll used to take us to look at butterflies?
I think that so it ties into what I was going to say. I was at a graduation party in Porter, but there was two people that were from Hobart, and I was discussing it with them. And the first thing that they said is that Josh Huddleston will not be reelected as mayor. And I said to him, "Are you okay with getting $147 million?" And they kind of really weren't up on that. I said, "Do you understand that your budget's $26 million and you guys are broke?" They're like, "Well, what do you mean?" And I said, "Do you know any firemen and policemen?" They're like, "Oh, yeah, we know all the guys there." I go, do they want raises? Well, of course they're going to get raises. I go, "Do you realize that you guys are broke and you're getting $147 million?" So when you explain it to people, I would not want to live right next to it. I disagree with Chuck. I wouldn't want to live right next to it. And so, but, people did, like I said this before, I don't think my mom wanted to live next to a lead plant, but she did.
Well, we also grew up living between a highway and trains and everything like that. You kind of just get used to it, right? I mean, again, you get used to living next to the highway. You get used to living next to the train.
We lived next to, Jimmy and I lived next to 8094, and they didn't have any sound barriers.
Right.
So, it was just the nature of the beast. And then the rain, where the train extension is right now, that actually, when I lived there as a kid, was actually active. So there'd be a train right on Frederick, in between Frederick and Manor. So, we deal with all this stuff. It's what do you get for it?
Right.
So I would not be opposed to that as Munster is going to be grappling with money issues, just like all their municipalities are grappling with them. So you have to pick and choose what you want out of it. If you take the word data center out of it, it's no different. Munster Steel used to be right there, and now it relocated. So I think as leaders, it's your job to explain to the tax base and that's what you're elected official for, and say, listen, we can make this deal. Here's what we're going to get. And as I said, what are you going to do with it? And I know Chuck hates this term. You can take the word transformational out of it. But if you were to tell someone, I can make this move and I can leverage this money and this is going to help this town for the next 50 years, I think that you should hear that out. And by the way, I was sitting with Andy the other day. I don't know which one it was. He told me he got $11 billion data center just okayed. I don't know if that's the one out in Eagle Creek or whatever it is out there. So you're going to $11 billion just got okayed, okay? And then if the Bears come in, that's another $5 billion. You got $500 million going on Burr Street in 8094. I would dare say this is a good time to be in Northwest Indiana.
It's a good time if you're in construction. It's a good time, right? But it's a good time if you're in the trades and you're in construction. It's a bad time if you live in the if you live in the neighborhood where they're going to put the Bear Stadium. It's a bad time for the people that live in the neighborhood where the data. It's like one of those. Your government is picking and choosing the winners and the losers here, and so that's the thing. The people that live there where the Bear Stadium potentially could go, they're the ones that are reaching out to me, going, "We have a lot of concerns and no one's listening." Right? Just like in Hobart, they have a lot of concerns and no one's listening.
I understand. I work. Those people are in my. Those are my customers.
Right.
There's going to be people that I didn't say that everybody's going to win.
Right.
There's always collateral damage, and you have to make a decision. That's what true leadership is about. You're in a fictitious world, a unicorn land, if you think that everything that happens, that 100% of the people are going to win. There's always winners and losers in every deal that goes on. And you have to try to mitigate those as best as possible. We lived around 8094, so what have they done in the last 30 years? They put a sound barrier up. Does it make it a little bit easier for those people who live on River Drive? Absolutely. You do different things where you try not to have, you try to mitigate these things so that you have quality of life. There has to be a balance. But to sit and tell someone that the world in North Hammond and in Whiting Robertsdale is not going to be changes, you're lying to.
Right.
It's going to be completely different. But would you say this? And I was asking people all weekend I was at. By the way, they did a great job in Griffith. I out of all the fests, they picked the barbecue, the fest there. But talking to all this is a hot topic. If you have an opportunity to bring $5 billion into Hammond and mitigate what is an environmental wasteland, which most people don't want to say, it's an environmental wasteland, you have to take that deal. You got to make it.
Thanks, Coos. Thank you. All right. Hey, I just got I got a 8:30 meeting.
Okay.
So I do want to say a couple of things. First of all, thank you, like always, for coming in. And one of the callers called in and said, well, do you make money? How do you pay these people? I don't pay these people. I don't pay Chuck Pullen or Verley or anybody to come in, Brent Brazier, anybody to do this. Just basically Lynette and I are the only ones.
Well, that's like I get a check.
I don't even get
Yeah.
paid. So
Yeah.
basically just Lynette, and that's how we're able to continue to do what we do. It's very expensive to run a radio station. And then we have great sponsors that have stepped up over the years, and you hear them all the time. But I do want to say this, Chuck. You have alerted me to have the right attitude toward technology.
Okay.
And in the beginning, we went down to the state of Indiana. Mon Hanley's like, you got to go talk to these people. You got to go talk to these people. I go, well, Sam and I are like, we're just sports guys, and we're just putting it on radio. Oh, we're putting it on TV now. Oh, we're doing podcasts. We don't know what we have. So we go down the state of Indiana, and they look at it, and they go, you guys are idiots. You don't know what you have.
Right.
So if you guys are asking why I'm not doing the morning show, I will be back on a regular basis. But I had to go look and say, well, what is the state telling us? What is Renee Tomets at Straka Ventil telling us? What's Karen Sultanovitz at Powers telling us? What is Wilkening? Why are they telling us that we're not really seeing exactly how valuable it is? So we're doing an audit, we're introducing new technology, but I can tell you this, that the more that we look at what's going on, more and more people are coming back to local brands, and there's got to be a huge, there's so much demand for old brands like WJOB, for Heartland, for high school athletes, for local news, all of that. And I think that's a positive. Radio listenership was up 3% last year, right?
Right.
So I don't know that because we're doing sports. All of a sudden we come over and look at it. But I do want to say that if you want to get on it, and if we've had any contact with you, we'll do it under the current situation. But I won't have that much control in about 2 months. So now would be the time that you would want to contact us and get something done. But part of that credit goes to you in helping us say, all right, Jed, you need to be streaming this. You need to be streaming this. I don't want to do that. I want to turn the radio on and start talking.
I was talking to somebody yesterday at a party, and we were just talking about electric cars and AM and FM radio, something that I tell people all the time. I said the very first conversation you and I had was the idea that if electric cars grow in popularity, they are going to lose AM and FM radios.
Doesn't matter.
But I'm just saying that was a fight that's been going on for a decade now in Congress. And again, we need to be positioned. I always talk about like Lynette. Lynette's never owned a transistor radio. She's never listened to AM radio before she came here. The young generation is not listening to AM radio the old-fashioned way. And so we need to keep up with that technology. As part of that, we need to send more data out the door. We need more data centers to be able to manage that data. And that's part of that's the nature of the beast.
It's all related.
Right.
So, I mean, in that situation, you're right. The actual AM and FM, we stream online. You wouldn't believe how many people are listening online right now. It just grows every month. But it isn't the tower that they're attracted to.
It's me, right? No, it's me. Yeah.
The
it's you.
brand.
Yeah, it's
you
us.
are part of it.
Yes.
Hey guys, thanks for letting me come in. I love arguing with Chuck. And but I do have a meeting, and thank you once again. I appreciate it to you and Starkey and everybody else.
It's always fun. Let's take a break. We'll take your calls after this.
Planting a tree, installing a fence, whether your project is big or small, NIPSCO reminds you to know what's below and contact 811 at least 2 full business days before doing any digging so that utility companies can mark the location of their underground lines. Contacting 811 is free and it's the law. Avoid possible penalties, costly repairs, or injuries. DIY or a pro, safety is in your hands. Every dig, every time.
We've had some cars run into the barrier wall, not paying attention. They were on their phone.
Texting, scrolling. Yeah, it's bad. Most often they be on their phones or they're just not paying attention. They can cause a crash.
We could stand on the side of the road and watch every other vehicle looking down into their lap as they're passing us. You know what they're looking at. They're looking at their phone.
Phones. On their phones, not paying attention. Phones.
I'm not a mathematician, but I say probably about 80% of the people who pass me are on their telephones.
No call, text, or video is worth putting yourself or a road worker in danger. When driving through construction, LiUNA members ask you for your sake and ours.
Slow down, stay off your phone, please. Be aware where we're at, where the cone zones are at.
Stay off your phones and buckle up and drive safe.
We're not asking for much.
This is Brian Short, business manager for the Indiana Laborers District Council. Everyone deserves a safe place to work. Do your part in the cone zone. Slow down, save a life. We're all in this together.
A message from Laborers International Union of North America and affiliated locals.
Plumbers Local 210 is building the future, and we're looking for service plumbers to join our team. Our training center invests nearly $500,000 every year to make sure our members are the best in the industry. From a 5-year apprenticeship and an associate degree at Ivy Tech to ongoing certifications in safety and new technology, our plumbers are trained for excellence. Every member is drug tested and licensed for your safety and peace of mind. When you need plumbing work done, make sure you ask for the license. It's your right to ask.
It's the simplest expression. The smallest thing that changes everything. A smile. So easy. A smile lights it up. Apologizes. And welcomes unconditionally. Because the shortest distance between two people is a smile.
Thank you.
Strachan Van Til, where making life easier starts with a smile.
Hey, it's 8:20 here in the region. Chuck pulling in on a Monday morning. We actually do have some traffic, so now let's get to that. So if you are heading westbound on 80, there is an accident with the left lane blocked at the Lincoln Oasis. So that's right about the Thornton Quarry area. So that area's been a hot spot. We've had a few accidents around the quarry. We've had a few accidents over there lately. But yeah, so 80 westbound at about the state line to the Lincoln Oasis. There's a heavy traffic, left lane blocked due to an accident. So other than that, here on the Indiana side, 80-94, 65, Skyway Toll Road, everything moving along fine. In Chicago, things a little heavy, merge into the Dan Ryan. Dan Ryan's heavy, we'll say 35th on in. 80, once you get past the Lincoln Oasis, looks good. 294 looks good. If you're one of those people that uses Lakeshore Drive, former President Obama in Hyde Park, so just be aware of motorcade movements along Lakeshore Drive and along that area. How's the weather?
Good morning, everyone. Today we're at 64 degrees with highs of 74 and lows of 58. It's going to be pleasant with partial sunshine. Should be the nicest day of the week. Tomorrow and Tuesday we'll be having highs of 68 and lows of 54. Should be cloudy and breezy with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm. Then Wednesday we'll be having highs of 68 and lows of 61 with clouds, showers, and a heavier thunderstorm in the afternoon, and should be breezy.
Thank you so much. I need to take a breath after that. That's always between Brad and Brad calls him the morning guy. That always makes me laugh. But we're taking your call. Do you have more calls?
We have 5.
Oh, we got a full boat. Okay, we're taking your calls. Let's get right to it. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
What's up, Chuck? How you doing?
Good. Clear your throat. Is that MX? Do that MX thing that he does.
No, I don't know what the deal is. Hey, just real quick. Why is it if the station is so successful, nobody gets paid? Why isn't it that nobody ever says nothing bad will happen from these data centers? And if that Obama mosque that he built is so good, why did it go from $200 million to $890 million, and it hasn't put a nickel into the fund that is supposed to run that thing? They're $460 million short of running the Obama Center.
So they run the Obama Center the same way they run the
is-
government. So why did that surprise you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Remember when Jimmy used to say radio was dead?
Well,
and now
right.
the only thing people listen to is the radio on WJOB.
This is
And last
the
time I
bright
looked-
spot on your radio dial, WJOB. You're right about that.
Yeah, I don't get it that there's nothing bad that is going to come from data centers.
Nobody's saying that. Nobody's saying that at all. We're saying that there are concerns. There are every big project, whether it's a data center, a train, or a Bear Stadium. There, like I was saying earlier, there's winners and losers. The trades, they get tons of work out of building a data center. The community that it goes in, they get a lot of money out of the data center. But there's neighbors that are going to have traffic and noise and whatever. So I mean, again, there's always winners and losers, and that's always the question. Is like, Who's going to get that money if you're going to do that? Will the people that approve this data center all lose their positions? Will they all get primaried out? That's been happening in other communities. Communities that they approve a data center and everybody gets voted out. So what's the point? You know, I mean, again, that's why we're here, to talk about these topics. But I'm just saying that there are a lot of people making a boogeyman out of a building, and they're acting like it's spewing toxic waste. Again, here in the region, we have refineries and factories and chemical plants. A data center is just a big building. It's just a big building. It runs just like a hospital. There's no boogeyman. There's no toxic retention pond behind it. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And I'm asking Jim. I'm trying to get a tour of one. I'd love to take all these people on the morning shows on a tour and show you it's just another building. There's no boogeymen hiding behind the racks of a data center. It's just another building.
Except it consumes 50 times more electricity than a hospital.
Right.
Where is that going to come from, and why is it I'm going to end up paying for it? And if you're not using the electricity and you're using water, how much is that going to screw up Lake Michigan?
Okay.
Oh, it won't. It'll be fine.
And I have the same. Well, again, we had the largest steel mills in the world consuming how much water and dumping we don't even know into Lake Michigan for over 100 years, and we didn't really start paying attention to it until a couple decades ago. So again, we went out. Right. We're remediating that. It took 100 years to figure it out. So as Jim was saying, let's be a little proactive about it. Let's put together a plan. But we also can't put a moratorium on it and say no build. I mean, that's the problem with government what have I been saying for decades on these airwaves? Find the happy medium. Should there be some regulation? Sure. It shouldn't be give us a 2-year moratorium while a bunch of 80-year-olds that don't know how to check their email decide the future of AI in this country. Find a happy medium. And that's all I ask, is find a happy medium and try to make things as fair as possible and not pick the winners and the losers. That's all I'm asking. Try to be fair about it.
All right, I'm out, bro.
Thank you. I always appreciate your calls. Let's take another call. So I hit the next one. So let's see. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, I'm a Mozart string quartet kind of guy, but the country is big and diverse, and it's got room for events like the fight event on the grounds of the White House on the birthday of President Trump.
Yep.
And you're now having the usual East Coast degenerate Democrat commie snobs saying, "Oh no. We can't do that." I mean, that's like the emperors of Rome having these events where people killed each other, kind of thing. It's these are people that thought it was perfectly fine to during the 60s and 70s to desecrate the American flag. Demonized military guys who served in Vietnam, many of whom were there as a draft or draft motivated. They spoke well of out-and-out traitors like Jane Fonda, who threw her lot in with the communists. Last night on C-SPAN, they had Jane Fonda appeared at a concert in New York called No Kings concert. Now, they say no kings, but how about communist commissars? Because that's exactly what Fonda and others like her did. They threw their lot in with communist commissars, not just Vietnamese, but also the Soviet Union and Red China. They were all involved in that war. The North Vietnamese could not have done that war without the full backing of the Soviet Union and Communist China. So Jane Fonda, when she threw her lot in with the North Vietnamese, she was throwing her lot in with the Soviet Union and Communist China. But she didn't get a word of there was complaint from the likes of the New York Times or the Washington Post, which is going on now. They're just going crazy trashing Trump for having that fight element on the lawn of the White House.
Right. Well,
what do you think?
Right. Well, not even that, but I mean, go back to the concert, right? I mean, this idea that and we've talked for a long time this idea that we're essentially creating, parallel economies. But what's unfortunate is even this, you see the fallout. You had all of these musicians that were planning on playing at the 250 concert, and then even was it Bret Michaels or somebody came out and finally said, "Look, I can't perform because my family, my crew, my circle of people are being threatened. My life is being threatened because I want to play at this concert to celebrate America, because it's attached to Trump." So this idea that even, we talk about that thing, so is this the future where every time, Trump has an event, so then, Jane Fonda is going to have an event or whoever. So every, who is it? Bruce Springsteen and all these guys. So you're going to have the parallel economies of, you're going to have a UFC fight over here and you'll have a play over there. You have a concert here and have a concert there. But again, this idea that you're not even allowed, if you even, think about performing on the one side, you'll have your life threatened. If you, again, going back to some of these, Hollywood actors that came out as more conservative and they got canceled, so that becomes the question is, how are we going to manage if that's what we want to do? I mean, it's unfortunate that America is going to, we're having this 250th anniversary, the celebration, and yet it's two separate groups. We can't even come together, for a month in July and come together and celebrate this country. It's unfortunate that things are that way. It's even to see all the vitriol about, again, like the reflecting pond. Like, I know a little bit about, building ponds and stuff. It's, it's a tricky process, and everybody's making fun of him. He finally restored the pond. It's got some algae. Yeah, that happens until you get your pH balance. But again, this idea that every project, you rebuild a pond, you do that. I mean, it becomes this huge, as Tony Panic would say, a kerfuffle, right? Why does everything have to be a kerfuffle? Can't we just turn it off for a day and celebrate America? Can't we just turn it off and just celebrate the 4th of July? I mean, I guess we can't do that anymore. It's an unfortunate thing. It's unfortunate that everything has to become a big scandal and controversy.
And they're not willing to stop at smearing people and so forth. They engage with death threats. Look at Chuck Schumer, the top Democrat in the Senate, standing on the steps of the Supreme Court, threatening a couple of the Supreme Court justices because they didn't vote the way he felt they should. Or you have Jane Fonda talking about at her event in New York, the No King concert, and saying how they're defending democracy. Yet her record is one of throwing her lot in with communist, the worst communist tyrannies. I mean, and these people are so ignorant and so morally bankrupt. They don't see the inconsistency there at all. And of course, the media has, as far as the Democrats are concerned, Jane Fonda has remained a darling of the Democrats. I mean, she's like a princess in the Democrat Party, despite her record of when the war came to an end for the Americans in 1975, and they started releasing American POWs who were being tortured in Hanoi. Most of them were aviation people, including a guy from my squadron. And when they went public, they started going public about the degree to which they were being tortured by the communists. And what was Jane Fonda's response? You're racist. Sound familiar?
Right.
There's no limit to this traitor scum.
Well, let's shift gears real quick. I wanted to ask you about what Jim said earlier. So Jim earlier said that a possible solution for the Bear Stadium would be if Governor Braun and Governor Pritzker come together and come up with some sort of arrangement where possibly the stadium straddles two states, where both states come together and come. Can you imagine a scenario where Governor Braun and Governor Pritzker come together to come to an agreement on anything at this point?
No, not the way Illinois acts. I mean, they're totally dominated by Democrats.
Well, I mean, going to say, but as a fiscal conservative, I don't want my name. I don't want the state of Indiana attached to anything from the state of Illinois. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to start working deals with the state of Illinois. I've seen the way they manage their finances. I do not want to be attached to a 30-year-long deal. I don't want to sign on a dotted line with the state of Illinois on anything. I've seen how they run their show. So, I mean, again, it's right. Great in theory, but I would not want to be the one. I would not want my governor or anybody here to be signing on any sort of deals with the state of Illinois at this point. They can't be trusted.
Would you like to go into business with somebody that has a long record of not paying their bills, being bankrupt, and being irresponsible?
Right.
No.
No,
I would say
exactly
that the idea, my guess is that Dietlow got that idea from somebody else. I don't think he came up with that idea himself, but that's just my opinion.
Right. Well, hey, appreciate the call as always. We got a few more behind you, so let's take those. So let's take the next caller. Good morning, you're on the air.
Yeah, you already are in business with the state of Illinois. I think Gary Airports gets a stipend from Illinois every year.
Yeah.
Some people call that a payoff.
Well, some people say it's a payoff to keep it from growing, right? And we had my friend Brian Callies on the other day talking about the Piatone Airport.
Let's grow up around here, okay?
Right.
Yeah.
But again,
the other thing, a couple of points. One is on this thing with government social programs. It is not the duty or the job of government to be running social programs. The government is supposed to create an environment where private citizens could create social programs, like the Humane Society, Salvation Army, stuff like that. But when the government gets involved in social programs, it becomes a boondoggle to where the government workers get fat and rich off the proceeds, and people never get the help.
It was interesting.
I mean, if we haven't learned that by now, we're never going to learn anything.
Well, and what was interesting about when Illinois was having that late night budget session, that legislative session, that was one. When they were debating the Bears, that was one of the things they said is we're creating all these new taxes, and they're going to be used for social programs. So I said, you're basically just throwing that money away. You're putting a huge new tax burden on your citizens. You're still not funding your pensions, and all of it's not going to catch up on the pension payments. It's going to programs, which means it's going into a black hole and being thrown away. And all these people that go,
I remember back in
go ahead.
1980 when Wisconsin Steel closed, I went to the Illinois Unemployment Office, and couldn't find a job for the longest time. To come to find out that the people in the office were selling the jobs.
Oh yeah, they're getting kickbacks. I've heard that before.
The kind of corruption that goes on.
Yeah.
The other thing too. The other point I'd like to make. A lot of people are calling in. I could tell they're frustrated that their voice doesn't seem to matter. Elections don't seem to matter. When the moneyed interests come in, they do what they want. They're going to shove a data center down your throat, like it or not. You can put all the yard signs up you want. They're still going to do it. To me, this is just a proof. How much more proof do we need? Elections don't matter. We have an illusion of democracy in this country. When the push comes to shove, the money interests get what they want, and one way or another. I live here right next to where they're going to plant that Bears stadium. Maybe, I don't know.
Right.
But did anybody come here and have a referendum? Did anybody come here?
Real quick, let's talk about that. Right. So, I real quick, George Carlin did warn us 50 years ago about the illusion of choice. But again, say that again, because there's a lot of your neighbors have been reaching out to me and saying, nobody asked us. Nobody asked us our opinion.
Right.
We didn't even have one meeting at the elementary school and say, hey guys, this is what's potentially going to happen. We want to hear from you. And I assume most people are going to be against it, right? This is no different than the data center.
It doesn't really matter anyway, because
right.
like in Hobart, I'm sure they had little town hall meetings there, but they're going to do it anyway. I remember here years ago, they had, I forget what the issue was. It might have been the 1, 2, 3 tax cap or something. And they had neighborhood meetings here about how the people in this area felt about it. It was just window dressing. It didn't mean anything. It was just something to placate the public. That's all it was.
Right.
I mean, the thing is, we have to wake up nationally and realize this. Elections like in the one they just had in L.A. and the one they had in South Carolina, it's got to be pretty obvious now that elections don't matter. It's one way or the other, they're going to get in the guy they want in that office. So I hate to say it, but it's just a fact of life. When they want to do something, they're going to do it. And I don't really care one way or the other about the Bears Stadium, but just like you're saying, we never had a say in any of this, and we won't, not when it comes to this kind of money.
Well, but there's also like this idea that people in your area, I know the plans aren't complete or anything along those lines, but there are people on a regular basis asking me, what do we think's going to happen? Am I going to lose my house? Is Calumet Avenue going to get rerouted? What's going to happen? And nobody has any answers for them. I know they basically say, well, we can't tell you yet, but you at least have to tell them something. Say, here's what's on the table. I mean, we were talking earlier with Brian about the Piatone. It was 20 years of, are you going to take my farm to build an airport? Are you not? These people have spent an entire generation not sure. Like, again, this idea that when they were building the train in North Hammond, I saw people building new decks and putting new roofs on their house, a house that got torn down a year later because those people weren't given the information that, hey, your house is probably going to get taken from you and torn down. Don't buy a new roof. You're probably going to lose your house next year, right? I mean, that's the kind of thing that these people deserve information when you're planning your future.
It's a tough lesson to learn, but the American people need to learn this, is that the movers and shakers that run this country don't give a rip about democracy or the public or your vote or anything like that. And once the people come out of their stupor on this, maybe we can come together and actually push back on this. I don't know.
Well, but again, we can't come together. They spend their time arguing about the UFC fight and the pond instead of coming together. What can you do? But God, what's your last thought?
One other real quick thing I'd like to say. I just heard today that Bee Lumpkin passed away. She was about 105 years old, literally. She was active in the union since like 1937. I worked at Wisconsin Steel, and her and her husband Frank fought like the devil for the Wisconsin Steel people for 16 years. They finally got some kind of settlement on that thing in a federal court, I think it was, against Eddie Radoliak and the guys that were running our union. But anyway, she was
107. Hey, she was 107, by the way. That's pretty impressive.
107. Okay, yep. Great. Yeah, she was something else. She was a real dynamo, and I people like that are. If you're lucky, you meet one person in your life like that. But she deserves a lot of recognition. I don't know if she'll ever get it, but she and her husband Frank deserve it.
Well, and again, at the end of the day, I mean, that's you guys mentioned, steel mills and things like that where, I don't even know where to go with that, but thank you so much for the call. Appreciate it.
Okay, sure.
But I mean, again, when you look back, it was like, we don't have enough time to get into it, but just Chicago and unions and the Haymarket, just so much there. But okay, let's take another call and we'll take a break. Good morning, caller, you're on the air.
Good morning, Chuck.
Good morning, sir.
Previous caller could thank Ronald Reagan for putting him out of business.
Nobody blamed Reagan this morning. I mean, but again, I know people that continue to blame Reagan for things.
Reagan would be considered a screaming liberal today.
Well, I know. Well, so would.
He wanted to nationalize health care.
Right.
He wanted to give 12 million undocumented workers amnesty. He would be a crazy liberal.
And Clinton would be far right. Come on. I mean, but again, that's how much things have changed.
But hey, who's the last president to balance the budget?
Right. It was Clinton, and kudos to him. I mean,
it was Bill Clinton. Yeah.
Bush did it almost kind of accidentally. But yes, no one's balanced the budget.
And then Walt saying about Illinois, would you want to do business with a bankrupt, state? That's why I wouldn't want to do business with Donald J. Trump.
Okay.
Who filed bankruptcy
but I'm just saying,
times.
for me,
okay.
but here's the thing. I'm saying specifically about Jed's proposal that the two states work together. I frankly wouldn't trust the state of Illinois. I wouldn't trust them to have our best interests. I wouldn't trust them to put a multi-billion-dollar deal together. I mean, that's my opinion.
I agree with both. I agree with you.
Not that I trust Indiana that much.
It would never happen.
Not that I trust Indiana that much more, but I'm just saying they have a pretty bad track record and they have some debt issues.
When you have counties in southern Illinois that want to be assimilated into Indiana,
right?
That's all you have.
A third of Illinois wants to become part of Indiana, so it's like, well, maybe we'll just start there. We'll just Hammond will start creeping west, and that'll just be the Bear Stadium. But
I'm going to talk about you. You kind of couched the argument with the data center coming to Hobart. They're moving ground now. It's the last injunction is, all the T's were crossed, all the I's were dotted. They did everything the right way.
Right.
There's going to be a data center on 61st in Colorado, period.
Right.
It's just going to happen. They're moving dirt as we speak. And if you look now, you talk about being a good steward with money. Mayor Huddleston is forthright in where the money's going. He's already putting new curbs in, new streets in. updating the schools. And this could never happen because they were in the red, right? I mean, they were in debt, and now they're not. And I mean, this is gonna really come to fruition over the next 50 years, right? All these payments, and everyone talks about exit strategy with these data centers because everything has an expiration date, right? You know, the D-cell batteries you put in your flashlight, you know, everything has an expiration date. You and I, Chuck, we have expiration dates, right? The problem, what the concerns are of the county council and what they're working on is an exit strategy that, Microsoft or Amazon, you're just not going to lock the door and walk away and leave us with a mess. They have to reserve funds for remediating that property. And I know I was kind of very involved in listening to both sides in Hobart and Lake Station. And one of the big rebel rousers for anti-data centers was from Fort Wayne, Indiana. So there are professionals that travel the country that are against data centers. But what I never heard is those few homes, there's 7 homes on the west side of 61st Street. Beautiful homes, probably each 5 acres, right? Nice homes. If you look behind them, there's a 5-story refrigerator unit, actually closer to their home than the data center is going to be.
Right.
And I know a lot about hazmat. That refrigeration unit.
Is it ammonia? What do they use? Ammonia or what do they use?
Ammonia. Yeah, ammonia. And when you get to a certain level, they don't measure things in gallons. They measure it in pounds. There's 6 tons of ammonia in that building. That is literally less than 100 yards away from the backyards of those homes.
Right.
If that was to spring a leak, that entire area would have to be evacuated. The data center, there's two types of systems, an open system and a closed system. The one coming to Hobart is a closed water system.
Right.
It has its own treatment plant. It sounds like a lot, 112 million gallons. That's the size of an Olympic swimming pool, with a minimal evaporation rate that has to be replenished. And so I'm looking at the citizens of Hobart, the 1,000 that were complaining about it. I didn't hear the other 28,000 citizens of Hobart complaining about it because their schools are taken care of, their police department, their fire, their streets, their parks, they're all being taken care of now over the next 50 years. So the question I have for a Hobart resident, not anyone from Griffith or Crown Point or Munster, someone that lives in Hobart, would you rather have a data center or have your taxes raised 15%?
Well, and my only point was, and I'm sure if I'm sure he's doing something like this, is you just put a PDF, put a spreadsheet, put a balance sheet on your website that says, hey, here's the money, here's where it went. That's all that I think that's a fair thing.
Go to the Hobart City Council meeting, and you'll see that.
Right, and as long as that's there, as long as they're being transparent with the money. But here's the other thing, Dave. I mean, let's step back a little bit, because when I hear about cities in the red, or even this reminds me of like the school referendums, where you have a state that says, so the governor gets to say, hey, look, we got a balanced budget, we did this, we did that, SB 1, but then at the end of the day, so you can say, look at how much money we're saving you, look at the balanced budget, but then your town has to have a school referendum or 3. Your town has to court data centers to balance their budget. I mean, again, it's sort of like, is this sort of, there are people that were kind of telling me there's like this conspiracy where, the state is withholding funds, and then you have to make these deals that aren't good, that are going to potentially cost you your election in order to balance your budget, right?
We are just at the infancy of SB 1.
Right.
I don't think people realize what is that. Now, right now, Hobart's ahead of that. The county council for fiscal year 2026 has the exact same budget from 2025 because they want to get ahead of SB 1. So there's a lot of moving parts, right? I applaud the Hobart City Council and Josh Huddleston, the mayor, for being the bravest people on the planet.
Right, but again, it could cost them. It could cost them their seats. I mean, it could very well. We've seen it happen in other places.
That's a decision.
They're making it.
They're all residents of Hobart,
right.
So they know. I mean, they knew. This is when you earn your money as an elected official. You have to make the tough decisions.
Right.
Did the city council want to fly under the radar? And you have to ask them that. But between the mayor, They were in a hard place. They knew that SB1 is going to be kicking in. I don't think people realize, man, I've walked every block in Hobart. The home build, the new home starts in Hobart, ridiculous. Crestmore Golf Course, 800 homes.
Remember why?
There's no tax abatement on those 800 homes.
But why is that? Because of Illinois. Because again, Illinois continues to raise taxes on everything that moves, and there's no end in sight. So but it's sort of the idea, Dave. It's like, are we really doing such a great job, or are we just that much less dysfunctional than our neighbor? I mean, that's what I keep coming back to, is like, we have a dysfunctional neighbor. Mm-hmm. Does that mean we are really doing a good job? Like, and again, that's a question I have on a local and a state level. Go ahead.
I'll go back to the refrigeration unit with 6 tons of ammonia in it.
Yeah.
I didn't see anyone from Fort Wayne, Indiana coming and complaining about that. Did anyone hear anything about those refrigeration units that are going up left and right down I-65?
Right, but again,
no, you didn't.
Right, but you talk
far
about
more lethal.
Right, but again, there is this sort of boogeyman about the data centers, and like you said, I've worked. The Sears Tower has a closed system that I used to do maintenance on for transmitters. A hospital has the same. I mean, again, there's no boogeyman here. It's just basic HVAC, just kind of cranked up because of the heat generated. So again, I'm not trying to minimize it. I'm just saying that there's like you said, there's no multi-ton ammonia system. It's just a traditional HVAC system running on overdrive to mitigate that heat. It's nothing to be scared of.
You look between Cleveland Cliffs, East Chicago. You look at U.S. Steel Gary Works, Cleveland Cliffs, Burns Harbor. I don't have the exact figure, but I could almost guarantee you, since I delivered to one of those water treatment plants in those mills, that they probably circulate. And I'll try to get the figures for each,
right?
So I could substantiate that. I guarantee you, they circulate more than 112 million gallons of water every day.
Absolutely.
Between those 3 mills.
Yeah, I'd be curious to find that out. But again, most of those people say that the water leaves there cleaner than it came in. So I mean, again, in a weird way, it's a good thing. So thanks for the call. Appreciate it. Yeah. Let's take a quick break, and we're going to wrap up, and we're going to hear some final thoughts from you guys. We'll be back with more after this.
We've had some cars run into the barrier wall, not paying attention. They were on their phone.
Texting, scrolling. Yeah, it's bad. Most often they be on their phones or they're just not paying attention. They can cause a crash.
We could stand on the side of the road and watch every other vehicle looking down into their lap as they're passing us. You know what they're looking at. They're looking at their phone.
Phones. On their phones, not paying attention. Phones.
I'm not a mathematician, but I say probably about 80% of the people who pass me are on their telephones.
No call, text, or video is worth putting yourself or a road worker in danger. When driving through construction, LIUNA members ask you for your sake and ours.
Slow down, stay off your phone, please. Be aware where we're at, where the cone zones are at.
Stay off your phones and buckle up and drive safe.
We're not asking for much.
This is Brian Short, Business Manager for the Indiana Laborers District Council. Everyone deserves a safe place to work. Do your part in the cone zone. Slow down, save a life. We're all in this together.
A message from Laborers International Union of North America and affiliated locals.
Are you sausage curious?
Who's ready for Polish?
Big Frank Sausage has the very best Polish food in the region.
You had a mouthful of Big Frank sausage?
We have a full bar, dine-in, carry-out, delivery, and catering available.
I've had a mouthful of Big Frank sausage.
I've got a mouthful of Big Frank sausage.
219-378-9556. Smacznego i na zdrowie.
Who's ready for Polish?
IBEW Local 697 electrical contractors bring the highest standard of electrical work to Lake County homes, schools, and businesses. From everyday fixes to once-in-a-lifetime builds, we don't just get the job done, we get it done right and up to the highest safety standards. When you need electrical work, hire the professionals who power Indiana. Powering Indiana, Lake County, bringing excellence to the job, creating a brighter future for our community.
Hennigenberg Roofing offers roof replacements, repairs, and new construction. CertainTeed Shingle Master certified, our goal is to treat every customer and project with respect, courtesy, and honesty. Serving Northwest Indiana for over 63 years, contact us for a free roof replacement estimate at 219-365-8879. Mention this ad and receive a free upgrade to CertainTeed Pro Shingles. Hennigenberg Roofing, 219-365-8879.
We've got a few more minutes here on a Monday. We're taking your calls, 219-845-1100. So we'll do I just want to do one quick traffic update just to remind people. There was an earlier accident at the Lincoln Oasis 80 westbound. So 80 westbound, Lincoln Oasis near Thornton Quarry. There was an earlier accident. Traffic is getting better, so they've got that accident cleared up. You're going to hit the brakes right around the Bishop Ford on into the quarry area, and after that, smooth sailing. Everything else, area roadway is looking good. Dan Ryan a little heavy into the circle as usual. Former President Obama back to his old neighborhood in Hyde Park, probably checking out the library today, so maybe some traffic if you go that way. Keep an eye out. That might shut some things down for the motorcade. Let's take some calls, and we got a few more minutes here. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yellow.
Good morning.
Yeah, to your previous caller's point that there are a number of people in Hobart that support the data center. He neglected to mention one of them, which is Hobart City Councilman Mark Koppel, who perceivably received $100,000 in exchange for his yes vote on the council to allow the data center to go in. We'd be remiss if we didn't mention that. Him and his organization, the Hobart Moose Lodge. That's all I got.
Okay, appreciate it. Well, and again, it's an interesting point, though, about the idea that, and I go back to, again, everything for me comes back to the train, the idea that we never really asked, do the people want the train? Do the people want the Bears? Do the people want the data centers? And Pete Visklosky said on these airwaves, no, we didn't ask you because we knew you'd say no. But at least he was honest about that one thing. So appreciate the call. Anybody else on the line? So we're good. Okay. So let's just kind of reset, remind people. So yeah, Bob did not make it in today. He had a long weekend over in Dyer, the festival. Mother Nature does what she does. We plan and Mother Nature laughs. So Dyer Festival got rained out a couple days, as did Cherville and a few other places because of the weather. They decided, we're gonna take the safe approach. We're gonna do the safe thing. Obviously, I was out there the other night when the tornado, basically started by some reports in my area of St. John and made its way over towards Andréan and did a lot of damage along the way. So again, it's always a weird time this time of year with weather. We try to plan things, and Mother Nature doesn't always cooperate. So other than that, we'll just kind of wrap up here. Bob should be back later this week. You can ask him. Paul Goddard had talked about the flooding on 8094 yesterday due to the heavy rains and the pumps that may or may not have been on. Dan Repe will certainly chime in on that if he's going to be in on Thursday. But other than that, I will be back next week, hopefully with Bob, and we'll take more of your phone calls, and hopefully we'll have, we're all kind of anxiously waiting for Bears news and how it will affect the region, where it will go, stuff like that. There's all kinds of things that will keep these airwaves interesting. We always appreciate your calls. I appreciate you guys listening, sharing with a friend, telling people tune in to WJOB. They're the guys that know what's going on in the region. People come up to me and say, hey, you guys know what's going on. I go, well, I try. And we have a good circle of people that keep us informed, and we like to pass that along to you guys. So thank you for tuning in. We appreciate your support. As always, it's always nice seeing you guys out and about in the world. People come up and say, hey, aren't you Chuck? I go, it depends. You want to punch me or shake my hand? So far, they've all shook my hand. Nobody has punched me yet, but I'm always prepared. So thank you, Lynette, for your help. I did see, as you're leaving, Lynette, there was a much larger centipede running across the front threshold there. So I'll go take him outside for you before we wrap up. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll be back next week. We've got a whole lineup all week of guests and guest hosts as they were for all kinds of different opinions, and I'll keep you updated on things as well. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
For a fast and friendly car wash, go to Easy Clean Car Wash. Open 7 days a week in 4 convenient locations: Highland, Griffith, Cherville, and Lansing. Free vacuuming, air freshener, and a towel with every wash. It's fast, safe, and gentle. For more information and hours of all our locations, visit myeasyclean.com. Also, see how you can wash your car daily with our $10 Ultimate Wash for only $19.99 per month. Give your car the best clean at Easy Clean Car Wash.
Do you like to work with your hands, creating something from nothing? Then think about